What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Today I am joined with Kruos, ComicNerd, and Tekka. As you all know, we will be debunking toxic Tobey fans. Every single argument from before the movie and after No Way Home. Also, just so y'all know, this is this takes place after No Way Home. So if you haven't seen the movie, that's on you. It's been out for a while. So cry about it. How are y'all doing? How's everyone doing today? Any one of y'all can start.
I'm feeling solid. I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to finally debunk this shit.
Yes! Ah! All right, go. Sorry.
Fuck.
I'm feeling amazing, I guess.
You don't sound very amazing, Kruos. Are you sure?
Yeah,
bro, do you got the Omnicron?
No, it's like an Andrew thing. Like, I'm amazing, but I'm not amazing, you know? Like,
Damn.
At least you can save Gwen, so it's fine. Oh, man. I'm sorry. All right, Comic, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I just got through eating an entire thing of goldfish, and I'm slightly nauseous.
All right.
So
awesome.
Comic's going to fucking die.
All right, so basically how this is going to work is I am going to list off all the arguments that I have heard on top of everyone else, Kruos, Tekka, and Comic. If they've heard something that I haven't mentioned, they will also mention that. We will go over it. We will scale Tom. Probably scale Tobey in the process because it really wouldn't be fair. And maybe Andrew if needed, but I don't think that's really needed. He'll be mentioned a few times. But
no, we're just not going to scale Tom. He's going to be fly level throughout the entire thing.
No, he's outer at this point. You know, I don't even care.
Transcends dualities.
Universal Tom.
Universal, obviously. So that's what we're going to be doing. And at the very end or somewhere in between, I'm not sure yet. I'll probably ask them after the fact. We will answer the comments if anyone disagrees with anything we say. Not only that, we will also show what we're talking about, or I will at least, but honestly, y'all should probably already know it. You've seen the movie. It is what it is. If needed, we will, but yeah. So, let's get this started, boys!
Jesus Christ. I also want to point out currently the most fanboys in the chat are going for ComicNerd.
Hold up, why is everyone
Comic
sending me in
Nerd?
the comments? Are making me blush?
Okay.
Damn.
All right, so we're gonna start off with a banger. All right, y'all gonna love this one, guys. Hold on to your seatbelts. All right, hold on.
Okay.
Tobey easily stopped the full-power bloodlusted Tom with no effort, so that's why he's the strongest. And before you even say anything, I just want to say this is the dumbest, brain-dead argument I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Y'all go crazy.
Okay, I'll actually take this one a little bit because this is one I actually got into an argument with my entire friend group at school because we're talking about the movie. They tried to use that, and it was bad.
Bad
Here's
for them,
the thing.
I'm assuming.
First off, they tried to say that Tobey was in no way struggling with his whole up Tom. He blatantly was. You can see him being forced to the ground. He's shaking a bit. He's clearly struggling. Just because you have a straight face doesn't mean you're not struggling. We also have to take into account that while Tom is only in this instance using his arms for most of it, Tobey is using his entire body to push the glider up. So,
do you mind if I add something, Kruos? I don't know if you're going to say something. Okay, go ahead. I'll finish. I'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so for the Tom feed or like the Tobey situation when people arguing that, Tobey is stopping a full power, a bloodlusted attack from Tom. The condition here is that you can obviously be bloodlusted, but just because you're bloodlusted doesn't mean that you're using all your power, or just because you have the intent to kill something does not mean you're using all your power. And a perfect example could be in this case, Goblin is so weak that all Tobey or all Tom has to do in this scenario is use enough power to defeat that Goblin that he's currently fighting. And we see Tom pick up the glider. He's struggling to even lift the glider, despite him having way better lifting strength feats than that previously. And he's limping over the Goblin. Mm-hmm. So it seems like more so that this is a finishing attack, more than this is an all-out full power attack in a peak condition before he got shot, before he was injured, and all these other factors here. So,
right.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to add on, was that Tom has, at this point, a gunshot wound in the shoulder, and people try to argue that the Iron Spider suit stopped it, where you look where the Iron Spider suit was and where the bullet hit, didn't get stopped. It went right to his shoulder. And he has 4 broken ribs.
And I also... I want to also include the fact that the nanotech in this upgraded or integrated, it's called the integrated suit, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It didn't play any part in any of that. So with the Iron Spider suit, right? We obviously see what it can tank, what it does, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
where
quite as durable as the Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, and there's evidence that we will get into later on that will provide that kind of evidence to prove that. But where the bullet hit wasn't at all in the nanites. Plus, you can literally see the nanites being scratched throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, they're definitely the part of his suit that's nanotech is definitely damaged, and the nanotech spider, because that's what happens. He loses the nanotech because he gets his suit ripped off by Doc Ock on the highway, and then after that, when Doc Ock gives him the nanotech back that he absorbed into his tentacles, he simply spreads it out in like a spider formation around his suit. But where it spreads out is like nowhere near the shoulder blade, which is why he got popped. And I mean, I feel like the implication is like clearly there as well with like how he gets shot. We can see him stagger from the bullet. He's wounded. He's limping away. He's struggling to leave the building and flee the scene. So, I mean, I feel like that's just a key factor here that people aren't taking into account.
Well, I mean, it's toxic Tobey fans. Let's be honest here. They wouldn't be able to take that into account to begin with.
The spider itself, you can argue, added like some defense in like the sternum area, but really it was less defense and more just cosmetic change.
And you also have to remember is that was a very thin layer of nanotechnology onto Tom's suit. It was very thin, so I doubt that whatever durability it would have added on, it would not have been by much.
Well, and you also have to look at it's comparable to Tony Stark's suit, so it's not like it's bulky. It's not. It's nanites. It's a thin layer. After all, Iron Man was quite literally able to be stabbed with his own weapon by Thanos in Infinity War. So it's not a thick layer of nanites. Now, I don't know if Tony did something to like with that. Remember in the Infinity War when he's fighting Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian, he pulls down on his chest jacket or something and it does something. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't know. But I also want to add on to the whole Doc Ock thing. We'll get into this sooner, and then I'll add something else. I honestly believe that the nanites actually let Doc Ock take them off. Because as we see, the nanites literally they're smart. They're able to cover up an area that's needed to be covered up. We see that in Infinity War against Thanos with Iron Man as it goes into his other blaster. And we see it with Tom. It literally goes up to his chest or from his face. Wait, was it his face to his chest? Yeah, face to his chest.
His face to his chest to stop the stab coming in.
Exactly, and it did it on its own. It wasn't told to. So nanites aren't stupid. They're able to. They're smart. They know how it works.
They're reactive.
Very much so. And yeah.
Oh. No, I was about to say, I know exactly where we're going with this because when Doc Ock hits the nanite suit, right, the nanites ripped off, go over the arms. And then they allows Tom to control the arms.
Bluetooth. They Bluetooth that shit.
Man, legit Bluetooth.
The whole point of the nanite suit. Yeah, the whole point of the nanite suits, or just nanites in general, that a lot of people aren't like realizing, is that the nanites are supposed to respond and react to thought in this case, and more so, we never we have blatant scenes for, in this case, Iron Man using the nanites according to his thought, or when he shapes his nanites into a spear to try to stab Thanos before Thanos turns on him. If you actually notice something that a lot of people don't mention is the fact that Tom never in the entire MCU kind of makes his nanites do something within formation. So it more so seems like the nanites are responding on their own, or you could even make an argument to say that if anything, they're just reacting instinctively due to his spider sense and the nature of who Tom is and what they wanted to do, more so than just Tom telling it verbatim, make this like shape, because it just never happens that way for him. So. Right.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't nanites basically like Wakandan technology in a sense, just altered?
In a way, yes.
What they are is they are base, because they don't have the vibranium property being able to absorb stuff. They are technically based on the Black Panther suits and on Wakanda technology, as you said. It's more variable. They are meant for more variable armaments, which is why he's able to make shields, combine his legs to a giant booster,
right.
Pop lasers out of his back from seemingly fucking nowhere.
Right, and I mean, Also, going back to I know we went on a tangent, but we're gonna do that a lot. So going back to the whole Tobey stopping Tom thing. Let's take weightlifting, for example. This is a perfect example, and I talked to ComicNerd about this a little bit. Let's just say you go to the gym, right? And you squat moderately 500 pounds. Okay? You can do it, but you're still going to struggle with it, even if you have a straight face. And that's an argument that I hate. I'm sorry, but I fucking hate that argument. The fact that, he had a straight face, so obviously he wasn't trying. No, you still are. You have a straight face, but you sure as hell are struggling. I know damn well.
Yeah, like Grant said, me and him actually discussed this. I told him about an hour ago. My mom had me and my dad bring this massive ass table into the kitchen, and it was heavy as shit. I had a straight face on, but I was still like, shit. Like, it was hard to pick up.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like a tough it out type of thing as well, especially with like just the pure fact that you can see Tobey's face shaking. If you if you rewatch the movie, or if you just look at it somewhere online, you can literally see Tobey shaking. He gets pushed back the first time when Tom tries to like push him away. And yeah, it's just really consistent here that in this case, Tobey is definitely been, struggling. And I feel like people who want to like, I don't understand how they argue that, Tobey is like low diffin or, easily taking this weight that Tom has thrown at him, because I don't think people understand that massively contradicts the entire like movie, because the whole time all the Spider-Man are performing like feats relative to each other. Now you can argue that like, okay, well, Tom is nerfed for a lot of the movie, or there's certain parts where he's weakened. That would just contradict what we see here. Like, you can't have Tobey casually or trying to argue he's no different or, easily lifting that amount of force, but Sandman is pulling him away during certain indications or things like that.
Exactly. And I love how people say, like, I remember this god awful argument, bro. It's like, when you brought up in your video, which I think I credited a while back, like Sandman pulling back Tobey, and I literally said that to somebody, and they're like, "Well, the same thing would happen to Tom." Like, but did it? Like, you can't use something that didn't happen. And then you have a lot of people that are saying like, "Oh, actually, hold on. I'm actually I'll get to that soon. I will get to that soon."
Man's getting overhyped.
I'm getting into this. I'm sorry. Okay, so
the ADHD is going.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
ADHD is kicking in.
I apologize, guys. So we got the first one down. Obviously, that stupid argument that people love to use that look at it face value. I literally cannot stress to you how many face value takes I've seen on that. We got that one out of the way. Easy, simple. Next, the train scene took more force and effort than Tom's ferry scene.
Oh, please let me take this one, because I actually have the exact already written down. So, okay. Because I lost all the paperwork. I did find the count, but I did get the end result.
Mm-hmm.
So Tobey's train feet was 182,000 newtons of force, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. He held the train for about 47 seconds, 47. It was going 80 miles per hour. He stopped it. So 182,000 newtons. Mm-hmm. Tom's feet of holding the ferry together for 6 seconds by himself when all his webs were snapped, held it together for 6 seconds, is 31 million newtons of force.
I don't get their argument. How does it make sense? How can you say?
No, they don't know how to actually calculate force and speed, so they think that, this train was going 80 miles an hour, Tobey's clearly exerting more force on his body, therefore his speed is obviously stronger, but that's not how strength works.
From a visual perspective, Tobey's feet, I guess to some people, does seem more impressive because he's literally screaming, his suit is actively getting ripped.
Yeah, of course.
And the sides of the building of the other buildings are like crumbling, so from a visual perspective, I can see why people would think that the train is more impressive.
I feel like, to help, one of the things you can imagine that as is so in this case, when Tobey is performing his feat, like if you actually calculate out or you exert the amount of newtons or you look at whatever is being exerted here, Tobey in general is more so like a pendulum, right? He is more so slowing down the train than in this case. Tom's goal isn't just to slow down the train, right? His goal is to fully stop and pull the ferry together in one piece. And one of the things that's funny, because about both of the feats in general, the amount of force or the amount of energy that's exerted for Tom's feat, you can even argue is undermined, because if you look at any calc for the fairy feat, one of the things they don't take into account is the fact that when the fairy starts splitting apart, right, some of the water actually spreads inside of it, so it actually makes it heavier, but you can't account for how much water was in it, because at like a bird's eye view, there's like no way, like we can't even say how many volumes of water are being produced or flooding or making the ship heavier. Right. So it's purely based off the fairy itself and not taking that into account, and it would be harder to push or harder to lift anything while it's in water. Like,
right. And I feel like a lot of people misconstrued the fact that, and this is another one of the things, the arguments, that Tom's fairy feat didn't count. When, if you look at it, like literally just look at it, it is a Herculean hold, a glorified Herculean hold.
One of the attempted quote-unquote debunks for Tom's fairy feat is that Iron Man came in and helped Tom. That's one of the debunks he attempted.
That's where things kind of go sideways for them, because while Tom was while his webs were helping him hold for a bit, they all snapped and Tom was just there holding it. Yeah. Iron Man did not show up for another 6 seconds, and that's where this count comes into play.
Exactly.
6 seconds.
It comes for that little bit of time frame, of course. And it's the same way, like some of the logic people are like, well, he couldn't do the job, or, you know, Iron Man had to bail him out or whatever. That the same logic is being applied to like if you ever power cleaner, you power clip anything, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you lift like 500 pounds one time, that's all that's required for you to say, well, hey, I can lift this amount of energy, I can lift this amount of pounds, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need to sit here and clean 500 and then hold it up for 5 minutes straight for me to be like, yeah, you can lift 500 pounds. Right? So it's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Like if you're able to squat like 500 for like 1 rep, it's like, all right, you can do it. You know, or like even you get close to it, you're like, okay, damn, I know you can do it. You just, it's like takes a few, like just take a few weeks.
We could just keep going the way live around. Fucking deadlift is another really good one you can use. Who's gonna sit there and hold a deadlift? Like, let's say your max is like 285, right? Mm-hmm. You're going down, you're struggling, you're holding up. Who's gonna hold that there for longer than like 3 seconds?
Exactly. Like, and plus, again, with the weight of the fairy and whatnot, you don't want to. Nobody wants to do that. Who would want to hold 2 strings on the side of 2 sides of a ferry and just stay there and be like, yeah, this is kind of fun. This is how I want to spend my Saturday. Like, how, like what? Like, huh? Nobody wants to. And you know what even makes this better, right? Is the fact that even after those 6 seconds, Tom wasn't. He's like, whoa, okay, well that was kind of cool. Like he didn't pass out or anything like that. He was just like, oh, what the hell?
This makes it even worse because that means he could have gone longer.
That's true. He could have.
Yeah, Tobey's muscles were literally like, I can tell his muscles were like shit, and he passed out. Like,
could have definitely gone longer. Also, Tobey had more support with like webs and like his scenery and what he had to offer.
That's true.
Versus Tom. And then it's like you said, like afterwards, Tom isn't injured. There's no really sign of like in severe fatigue. In fact, there's like a cut after that. And obviously, like Iron Man didn't like fly Tom or pick him up, right? It's kind of just like implied that like Peter went back and he's on top of the building, and that's when like Iron Man comes, gives him the famous speech and stuff like that.
Right.
But
if you're nothing without the suit, you don't need. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, that's right. So I mean, the feat counts. It has to. Like you can't say it doesn't count if it's literally shown. Like I don't get that. I don't get that. All right, so next one is Tom relies too much on the suits, so they don't count into his feats.
That one is probably my least favorite.
What was that, Kruos?
What's the mind if I start off with that one?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah, you got the floor. You got the floor.
Okay, so I was gonna make another video on this, but it's kind of like simple. I feel like people should be able to understand this, right? People are like, okay, the argument for why the suit makes Tom stronger, quote unquote, is in this case, right? Well, Tony Stark goes from like human level to arguably like these star or higher levels of power, right? Because he's able to go into the suit, and it's like, okay, right? Tony Stark is a human, and obviously putting on this suit is going to severely enhance his abilities versus somebody like Tom, who's already superpowered. He already has this amount of strength, agility, and all these things. It's not gonna increase in the same way. And the whole thing is like we were talking about, well, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it at all. the whole narrative in these things happen, and Tom actually has comparable feats, and they're actually kind of better than Tobey's if you actually count them or look at the Force. Out the suit. Like one of the times where he's fighting the Vulture. I don't know if people remember in Homecoming, he's fighting the Vulture. Vulture destroys the support beams of the building. The entire wall like collapses and falls on him. Like he's under rubble and he can barely move. He didn't even have the support or anything to stand on to properly lift the weight he was doing. And then he still lifted way more weight than Tobey lifted in the second Spider-Man movie, where he's trying to lift that wall up to like save MJ.
Well, we'll get into that feat there, because a lot of people love to wank the shit out of that feat. But that one has a lot of flaws. That has a lot of flaws. But a lot of people have used the argument of, oh, there was only an air cooling thing on his head, and like, did you not see the entire goddamn roof fall in on him? Like, I know he didn't lift the entire roof, but there was still rubble on top of him. Like, there's no way around that. So, I don't get it. I'm sorry, Kruos. I interrupted.
So, I kind of want to touch on this, because this is like giving them benefit of the doubt when it comes to, the suit amps his strength. The only suit you can actually argue that amps his strength is the Iron Spider, and even then, when we look what the Iron Spider actually does, it doesn't actually enhance his strength. It does enhance his durability, but in terms of physical strength, like lifting power and stuff, it doesn't enhance it at all, unless you want to count the help.
To help you out on that, not to cut you off, I'm gonna post this. I don't know if you can like still drag images into your screen.
I can go to like my hold on, where's it at? Give me a second. Hold on,
so
almost got it.
If you look in, if you
look
into like the group chat of group DM, right? You can see this, and I like people don't know about this, but if you go on the Marvel official website and you read some of the information they have, it's funny because and all the information they have about the Iron Spider suit, none of it actually correlates to the fact that it enhances his strength. All those pages, the first one refers to how it protects him from space, so obviously allowing him to breathe, allowing him to be safe in the vacuum of space, and then you have the second slide, and it just references the pincers, and it doesn't even say the pincers enhance his attack ability. All it says that it provides him with stability
and like leverage, if anything. I think, right?
So none of it points to like attack power, which I find really funny. And I was like, okay, this is interesting.
And also, I'm going to send something else that came from the exact Marvel website. If it'll ever download, it literally shows Tom fighting Thanos, and it goes for agility. Like it's him catching Thanos off guard. So. Literally,
yes. I was gonna talk about that later.
that alone, bro. Like, I don't know how else to put that, bro.
No.
Oh my god! If I can ever get it downloaded, please. I'm sorry.
I have it, so if I can get it before you.
Okay, yeah. If you can get it, that would help. But I have the exact same. It's like it's literally agility. It's like, all right, well that solidifies that.
I love.
The thing is, right? Everyone reaches for these arguments to try and debunk Tom without ever actually looking at the source material and understanding that
exactly.
It just takes common sense. It does, like, you don't even need to be smart. It just takes common sense and just a little digging, and then the answer is just right in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have it. Looking at the group chat.
All right, yeah.
So I love that statement. And it's not just because it's agility, but it's basically what the statement implies, right? So it says it's like, Spider-Man has incredible agility, allowing him to catch his enemies off guard with how quickly he can move and contort in battle. So it's not saying that Spider-Man just happens to catch people off guard. It is saying Tom Holland's Spider-Man is so fast that he's always able to catch people off guard because of how quick he is. You know how impressive that is compared to like anybody in the MCU or just like a lot of characters that have these agility feats.
Exactly.
He's just so quick. He's managed to take advantage of your weak spots and those things. And
exactly.
If you go on the other Spider-Man's pages, because they actually added Tobey and Andrew, they don't have these same statements whatsoever. It's funny.
Oh, damn.
Thing really quick. Every Far From Home, right? He didn't have full usage of the spider sense, and this statement is still in effect.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I mean the fact that they show Thanos, the one thing that people say, oh, you can't use that because he has help from the Avengers. It's like, it literally shows it.
And he still tanked a ground slam from Thanos.
And an armbar with full velocity being pulled in, bro.
No, okay. Him tanking the slam, that one is when you can correlate to the Iron Spider, but it's still impressive regardless.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Well, here's the thing, is even if, like, him just tanking an arm bar, it should have done damage from the inside of the suit. He still needed to tank a certain amount of that damage.
Yeah. I actually have a video, right? I made a video on this saying that Tom Holland could, in fact, tank higher attacks than Tony did in the suit, because as you see in No Way Home, if I can send these videos, we see the part. Remember whenever Tony gets the nanotech to his arm and it shoots off the beam and okay, so he knocks it off. Thanos quite literally knocks the nanites off of his head. Okay, but earlier in that scene, actually before that scene happened, Thanos pulled the moon in on Iron Man and hit him point blank range. Nanites were not affected at all, but whenever Thanos grabs Tony's head, it pulls them off, okay? There was more force put behind that armbar and that slam than there was that grab, meaning that Tom could potentially tank moon-level attacks based on...
tank a fucking moon.
Literally. I mean, if you literally base it... If you compare the two, or like the relativity of it all, it makes sense.
Now, okay, I will say this, that is definitely the durability thing. Mostly comes from the Iron Spider, and I will say that because also if we compare consistency, this is something I do need to point. For consistency, right, he can't take attacks that are that heavy outside the Iron Spider suit, as we see with his first with the Green Goblin, which is actually what I did want to get into later to debunk, but we'll do that one later. Okay. But a lot of the massive durability feats, and this is in some way helping the Tobey fans out.
Oh, we don't do that here. We're not doing that here. That's a no-no. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
They are correlated to the Iron Spider, but the problem is he still has durability feats outside of the Iron Spider that just put him over. That just outright put him over Tobey and Andrew.
He was able to tank Stark bullets.
My personal favorite, he stopped Cole Obsidian.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the fact that he jokingly caught Cole Obsidian, and I believe Kruos talked about this. Yes,
I talked about it in my video.
Yeah, the fact that he casually, and I mean casually, caught it while he was while Cole Obsidian was ragdolling Iron Man multiple times on multiple occasions, literally puts him above anything. And it's like I don't get that.
Remember in What If? When
the Call Obsidian's arm. Yeah, I was gonna get into that.
Yeah, I discussed that with Fran a while back, and I had actually shown him. I was like, Tom caught Cole Obsidian's hammer or axe or whatever you want to call it with, I'd say, low difficulty. And in What If, Thanos was struggling immensely whenever
he catches Call Obsidian's hammer pretty casually, and right after that, while he's talking to Tony Stark, he's not even really paying attention. There's no sign of threat or immediate danger. Call Obsidian throws him off when he's not paying attention. And then after that, later when we see, Tom picks up a car and slams him on Call Obsidian's head, and he's like just gone, like he's on the ground.
He grabs the car midair.
Yeah.
And the fact that
Call Obsidian threw the car at him. He webbed it, slung it around, he did like a little 360, and then he threw it right back at him.
I feel like people downplay the strength of Call Obsidian too, because a lot of people aren't aware of this. But there's several guides and there's things that reference the Black Order's power, and essentially what the Black Order is supposed to do is that the Black Order is supposed to be able to single-handedly go to these planets or these places throughout the galaxy or the universe and take on Infinity Stone users. So they have to each single-handedly be able to combat or at least rival someone with the power of an Infinity Stone. So all of them have to be that level, right? And we even see consistency with this, with how Cole interacts with characters. Like Cole will interact with Tony, and then we see how Tony interacts with Thanos, right? He's able to fight both of them to somewhat of a relative level, even if he is losing. So we have a case here for how strong these Black Order characters are, and even in What If we see consistency here. So there's a lot of things supporting that. Bro, Call Obsidian is a threat, bro. He's
there's no way around that.
Yeah.
And so what is it? The funniest thing is, even in Endgame, right? Call Obsidian quite literally ragdolls Iron Man again, and even mid-swing, Tom literally webs his arms up and pulls him off his feet.
He pulled him like how I pull my fishing reel at fishing on weekends.
Yeah, no, he literally Like,
I
no
thought someone was
problem.
gonna say something very different.
Oh no! Oh god! Hey, Kruos, do you happen to have, if possible, the info on the Black Order? Do you happen to have that?
I'll try to see if I can get it on my gallery.
Okay. All right, we'll do. I'm really trying to send these videos to Discord to like prove these points, but it's not letting me, and I absolutely hate it. I hate it. All right, so what else? Okay, so we're getting to the Thanos thing, okay? Tom had help from the Avengers on Titan, so none of his feats count there.
You said what? What was the thing?
Tom had help from the Avengers on Titan, so none of his feats count there.
They mean him actually when he punches Thanos, right? We see Thanos is at least somewhat affected, right? He's not just significant damage, but he's still
a hell of a lot more affected than when Thor hit him with like the metal pipe at the beginning of Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not good. That doesn't exactly negate anything. It's like, oh, he got help from the Avengers, yeah, with only certain cases, but everything he did solo in that fight still counts towards him.
Exactly, and they say because he's in the Iron Spider suit, it's like, oh, well, it's not considered standard equipment, even though it's used more than once. It's the same thing, same concept with, what is it called, Captain America and his shield, or...
okay, I'll actually give the Tobey fans this one. The Iron Spider technically wouldn't be considered standard equipment, technically, but it is something that you could still argue could be used.
I mean, it was used more than once as time went on.
Yeah, but it's not like his standard suit. When it goes standard equipment's what they most standardly use. So the suit that he has, the suit he has when he's not using Iron Spider is what he's most consistently shown in.
Right.
And Iron Spider be like a separate version, I guess, is what you could argue.
Right.
Regardless.
I mean, I guess you could say, because instant kill is in every single suit except for the integrated one. Because it was shown, It was shown.
No, you know what would have been... side hatch really quick. What would have been really funny if he was fighting... When he was fighting Goblin, he said, Friday, activate instant kill.
I'm sick of this motherfucker.
Goblin's
It's like, wait.
instant what?
Instant huh?
It's like, wait, what? Oh, hold on, wait a minute. You what? And it dies immediately. It's like, oh, this is good.
That single body slam, if he had that with instant kill, it would have just been like, it would have been like those Mortal Kombat like finishers where it's like the X-rays.
No, because we know that when he activates instant kill, right, no matter what suit it is, it does anything in its power to kill, and it move, and so it kind of like forcefully
It's basically Ultra Instincts.
So it forcefully takes over Tom's body, and Tom's like, oh shit, wait.
The thing is, one of the things about instant kill too is it doesn't. People don't know this because like some people be like, well, I think instant kill Tom is the strongest. Instant kill Tom is inherently like stronger than like Tom using his full power, surprisingly, because you have whenever he uses insta kill, it's his suit kind of taking over, and he'll use the pinchers, right, and he'll stab people through with those, right. But if you notice, Tom isn't the one who's throwing punches. Like even when he has Infinity Gauntlet in the stand in Endgame and he's running, Tom is never throwing punches. He's in a dog pile, and he's like, okay, insta kill, and they just start like stabbing him. He's not kicking. He's not doing that. Like it's just more so his suit.
Right.
So it just shows you like the power of what his suit is doing, not even adding to like his own strength or him, taking initiative here, attacking. So.
Right. I mean, and I honestly wonder what it would have been like in the original suit, because he did activate insta kill there for like half a second. Yeah. I was like, how would that work?
Freaked out.
Like, I don't know how that would work.
What I think that is because the suit would still probably take over, so it's just like the suit just now says, no restraint anymore, fuck you. So,
pretty much.
What I like to picture is this picture in my mind is amazing. A bloodlusted, like when he's fighting Goblin, right? He's bloodlusted and he activates instant kill. Goblin is not surviving.
Yeah, I don't think he would. No, there's no way he's surviving that. All right, let's see if this will send. I feel like maybe it will. Dude, it won't let me. Okay.
Pictures aren't sending.
I'm trying to.
Why he didn't activate one fighting Thanos? That kind of confuses me.
Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'll start with the second one while I do that. Hold on. So let's see here. Tobey has more experience and technique, meaning he's stronger.
Absolutely jack shit.
I so disagree with that too.
Go on, Kruos. Go on, Kruos.
So listen. Let me tell you why that's such a shitty take, right? Because you have this case here.
I'm gonna be disappointed.
Right? Tobey is only more experienced if you want to take into account of how he deals with like emotional or mental damage. That's the only argument that you can have for Tobey ever being more experienced in the slightest way in comparison to Tom, right? Whenever it comes to battle experience, I don't think people realize that Tom has been in the MCU for like what, bro? It's about to be like 10 years soon, bro. Like he's been like in the MCU forever. So you have characters all the way from like Civil War. He fought the Avengers in Civil War. He went into Homecoming. He fought Vulture. He fought Shocker. He fought all these characters. He went to space. Like his resume is like insane. Like that's even when he starts talking to Andrew and Tobey, and they're all talking about their accomplishments. Like, oh, I fought some black goo. I fought this guy and this guy. Tom is like naming all these things that he has done in comparison to them, and the fact that Tom has been in a cohesive team. He's been a leader. He's obviously been more experienced than Tobey and Andrew when it comes to overall battle. Like,
and I mean, to add on to what you're saying, Kruos, this dude literally puts together the team, and I wouldn't say puts together the team, but literally comes up with a game plan. And
he was the leader in the final. He was the leader in the final battle of No Way Home. Of course. He was the one that was directing all the other Spider-Man on what to do.
You know the ones there's that one swinging scene a lot of people like to hype up when they're like, okay, Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, and they all run off and you see the music start. And Tom basically like they're all swinging, right? And people are like, yo, look at that Andrew swing. It's not Andrew. The swing where they like they do this like really cool flip sequence is Tom shooting webs instinctively and pulling Andrew and Tobey forward and throwing them in the air. Like
I saw that
sequence that Tom does. Like it's amazing.
Yeah. It's Andrew and Tobey firing their webs up, and it's Tom catching them with and just swinging them.
Yeah,
I remember that. That was that. Yeah, no, that was. I mean, like that alone. I mean, come on, and like he literally pulled them. He pulled them. But it's whatever. Yeah,
midair.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so as you can see right here, what I sent. So basically, the calculations that are right here. I think this was for the fairy feat. Or maybe it was for the plane whenever he crashed and he like survived that. I don't know. That was one of the two. So as you can see, Thanos literally pulls off the nanites like immediately. And then the same thing at the very bottom. He literally backhands the shit out of Tony's face and the nanites fall off. So, I mean, that alone should show you. It's like, oh yeah, well, there's that. That proves the point. So, yeah, whatever. That's there. So ComicNerd and I talked about this. Kruos and Tekka, you can get into this, into the nitty gritty. Spider-Man closing his eyes in Far From Home doesn't count. So no, hold on. Damn it! Spider-Man closes his eyes in Far From Home, so the spider sense doesn't work whenever he was going up against the drones.
So the spider sense doesn't work? What?
Yeah, no,
what?
Exactly. That's
basically what people are trying to say. I'll word it better. People are trying to say because Peter had his eyes closed in the bridge scene in Far From Home, it would it just basically makes his feet worse. That's what they're trying to say.
Oh my god! Okay, so is that a way to like discredit his spider sense?
Yeah,
I get the argument. Yeah, they're trying to say that he can't
because his eyes were closed.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to say that he can't use the full effectiveness of the spider sense when his eyes are open. I think that's what their argument is.
Well, he has way better spider sense. We can get into that after this, but to address this one in particular is so. The issue with that is the reason why he closes his eyes, right? And the context for it is the fact that people don't actually know this, but the whole entire movie of Far From Home, like Tom Holland is nerfed like severely, right? And it's because this is like following the deaths of Tony Stark. He's severely depressed. The whole world wants him to be the next Iron Man. He has all this weight on his shoulders. He doesn't know what he's going to do with himself, right? And we can see this because when he tries to, like, he has a talk with, like, Aunt May, Happy, and all these people, and they're trying to get him to be like, oh, well, use your tangle, da-da-da. And he's like, okay, it's not working. And even previously before this, we see in Infinity War, he's on the bus, and he's able to sense interstellar travel and, like, ships coming into the stratosphere. And he turns around and he tells Ned to make a distraction with his eyes open.
We're all gonna die!
We can clearly see him do it there. And he goes from in the beginning of the movie, right? fighting Mysterio during the building scene where he's using illusions. It looks really cool, right?
While
He gets like
shot.
he gets like one tapped by some of the drones, and he's struggling to react to them, right? Because of
Advanced
how like,
dark
crippled
bullets.
he is. Yeah. He gets like blitzed by the same drones, right? And then after, when he starts believing in himself, and he says, "I know what he has to do." You know, the glasses were for the next Iron Man. He like gets what it's supposed to mean and what it's supposed to personify for his character. He goes back and he starts blitzing those same drones that blitzed him earlier while he was like nerfed and off guard, right? He just takes over, one shots them, runs up to Mysterio, closes his eyes. So the context here is that
caught Mysterio's hand while Mysterio was invisible and
point
he was
blank
focused
range
on the illusion.
And Kruos, or anyone, I don't really care who does this. So the same argument, I've heard this, is like, well, Tobey did the exact same thing with Doc Ock. He fought beforehand. He scuffled with him and then had to stop the train and fought him and had to save people. So like, how do you go about debunking that? Because I said it before.
That's similar to the debate I had with another person
about the
a
fact
couple
that
days ago.
Are they trying to say that Tobey was like fatigued?
I don't know.
No, it's more. It sounds like more so they're trying to equivocate the fact that in one situation you can argue that Tom is facing factors that would not cause him to be his best. In the other situation, we have Tobey facing factors that would not cause him to be his best. So you can't make an excuse because Tobey went through the same thing. That's what they're trying to justify.
Yeah,
it seems like.
That's literally that.
So I had a debate with this dude named Arrow not too long ago, and we're literally like debating that, and we were talking about like what happened during the scene, and I feel like it perfectly references this. My argument for that is simply saying that in one condition, like if you look at Spider-Man 2 or any of the Spider-Mans, whenever Tobey's facing factors, I want people to take into account, right? Look at the age of how old Tobey is. Tobey is a character who's around college in all of the movies, right? Tobey is a grown adult who, even if he's stressed, he's mentally nervous, he's facing depression, whatever it is during his Spider-Man phase, he has like a mental block like they referenced in No Way Home, right? All these factors, how they affect Tobey, right, aren't the same as how they would affect Tom due to age difference.
Right.
How young and like how he's facing these things. Like how do you think a 24 or a 25-year-old like man would deal with, you know, their brother or their family or their cousin dying versus like a 15, 14-year-old boy, and like on average maybe until 17 until current day time. So it's like those factors don't affect it. And even if you have like, well, Tobey had like 4 of his friends die. Yeah, but 4 friends dying to a person who has dealt with these things and is prepared to face that in the world versus a 15-year-old is completely different. Like you can't compare, like, you know, you ever heard the saying like you can't compare like a struggle? Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing that's present here. Like you can't try to say, well, they're both facing these factors. There's unknown variables, and you can't account for one person or the other person having a comparable situation.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because again, like a teenager dealing with the exact same thing a adult does. Like Kruos, you're 20, right? 21, something like that. Yeah.
Around
So
there.
Same here. Like if I were to deal with something like that, like for instance. A perfect example, a dog dying. My dog died recently. I did cry, sure, but, you know, I had to get over it. But if you're like 16, 17 years old, that's going to affect you in a whole different light. Because, like, you don't know how to deal with those emotions. You're not mentally capable of doing something like that. You know, it's like you're learning how to function as a I wouldn't say law-abiding. Well, actually, yeah, as a law-abiding citizen. You're getting to that point where it's like, okay, yeah, this is how things are supposed to work. So no, that makes perfect sense. You can't compare the two. It's not how that works. It's understandable. So that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay. So
okay, real quick before we move on, I want to touch on this, and this goes to the spider sense thing. So just remember that. Tom displays a better spider sense feat than any of those Spider-Men in the fact that he was able to sense William Dafoe's intentions.
Able to sense the personality change of the Goblin.
And it was at such a level that he knew the exact moment he was going to snap.
Damn, if we could do that with our girlfriends, bro, that would be so...
Bro.
Oh my god. Dude, that would be insane.
On her period, Hope.
I'd leave the house before she changed.
You walk in, you're just like, oh, yep, I need to leave.
No, you put your hand on the doorknob, you're just like, wait a minute.
So, yeah, that feat, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, so, yeah, feat is good. But a better feat than that I've never seen anyone talk about is in No Way Home, Spider-Man is able to use, or Tom in this case, is able to use his spider sense while his soul is detached from his body.
Oh, yeah,
thanks to
yeah.
Doctor Strange. So
you're
instinctively, Doctor Strange rips his soul out. And mind you, people can't, like, the argument that some people might try to counter is be like, well, that's just how spider sense works, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, right? Doctor Strange has encountered Tom's Spider-Man multiple times. He knows how his Spider-Man works. His job is to protect the universe. He has an insane amount of knowledge about all these different characters in the MCU and the Avengers, right?
Right.
Despite that, he felt like detaching Tom's soul was enough to stop him, right? And it still doesn't work. He's still instinctively dodging. He's still sensing it and everything.
He literally said, "How is that?" He literally said,
"Yeah." He's like, "How is that possible?" Like,
yeah, exactly. This dude's just dodging outside of his body, and it's like, what the hell?
I wrote down a bunch of stuff for the spider sense. If y'all want me to get into,
yeah, we can get into that. I don't mind. We can go into that.
Okay, basically what I said was, like, with the apartment scene, Tom was able to sense the personality change of the Green Goblin, and in the final battle of Spider-Man 1, Tobey was not aware that that Norman was the Goblin. He wasn't able to sense that personality change.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to sense the identity, and Tobey, he wasn't able to sense if Green Goblin was pretending to be Norman or not.
Right.
He wasn't able in the final battle of Spider-Man 1, of course, and then he also only until Goblin activated kill mode and had the glider coming to him. Right, so if Tobey's spider sense was superior, like some people say, if it was superior to Tom's, he would have been able to feel Norman changing or pretending to be the Goblin. Because if Goblin pretended to be Norman to Tom would have felt it. He would have known.
It's a final battle scene. For reference, so people can clearly vividly remember this. It's a final battle scene between Tobey and Green Goblin, and he's pounding him. He mentions hurting MJ, and then Tobey snaps. He starts pounding to overpower him. They fight. They destroy a couple walls, etc. Right? And people take this scene completely out of context. Tobey fans, oh my gosh, they'll use this scene to be like, it's Green Goblin saying, he's like, please stop, no, and he's like fake crying, and then people use that to be like, yo, he bitched up Green Goblin, he's so scared. No, the context is that he's simply lying, and it's still Goblin, and he wants to trick him into thinking that it's Norman.
And the reason why he didn't do that to Tom is because he previously, and keep in mind, he actually complimented Tom on his sense.
Yeah.
The reason why he didn't use that trick on Tom is because he enters this universe and he sees, oh wow, this guy is way smarter, way stronger, and has a way higher sense than my Peter. So I don't think I'm going to use this trick.
Yeah, literally asks Tom, it's like, hey, if you're ever willing to commute to a different universe to work for Oscorp.
Impressed Norman I'll assume it's just a couple of hours. He impressed Norman more than Tobey ever did.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, and also making the the inhibitor chip just from scratch, just by looking at it. He's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Dr. Octavius, who is like one of the smartest men in the Raimi universe. Like, what he failed to create, Tom perfected in a couple hours.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, that alone is impressive. And it's like, I don't get how people can misconstrue that. I don't get that. I really don't.
Tom's intelligence.
Yeah, we can get into Tom's intelligence. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, there's what we're gonna add though, Tekka. Yo, Tekka.
Yo.
You said you wanted to add something?
No, I was just saying there's a rabbit hole with this one, that's all.
Let's go down it. Let's get it.
You guys said you wanted to go to intelligence?
Yeah, let's go into intelligence. Let's get it.
So the first one I can blatantly say. So intelligence is something that is incredibly vast, and there's different forms of intelligence. And despite all that, Tom is the best in every single category of intelligence, right? I could walk down the alleyway of accomplishments all the way from all the movies. So Civil War, which in my opinion, best Marvel movie, but that's for a different discussion. But yeah, so in Civil War, when Tony goes to Tom's apartment and he starts talking to him, right? And the context, he's like, yo, kid, why are you doing this? What makes you get up in the morning and decide that you're going to do these things, right? And Tom gives Tony the speech, and he says, when you have the power to help people and you don't do anything and somebody gets hurt, it's your fault. And the whole message is actually what changes Tony's perspective about Cap during the argument that they're having. Like this whole political, philosophical debate over who was morally right over Bucky, You kind of see in the case that Tony is wrong about the Sokovia Accords, and that's why Tony's face drops down when Tom says that. And then he kind of like sees himself in it, which is also kind of what makes him want to help Tom even more, right?
Right.
And throughout the movies, whether it be Homecoming, you see like other things like Tom is making his spider webs with materials in his like bio class.
Yeah, just leftover chemicals.
Like it's trash as high school equipment. He's like crafting these webs and shit like that. They're like insane.
And I like how he closed the drawer.
Yeah, he just closed the drawer, and then even by the way, it's not even something that like we don't even know like the limit to him even in Homecoming, because during one of the scenes where he's running and they have the tractor to sense like the Chitauri equipment that they have, right? He starts running to the school and he has like this secret locker thing where under the locker he has all his web cartridges and things like that, right? And he puts it there. So he's been doing this for a while, man. He might even be younger, and we'll probably see that in Spider-Man freshman year when it comes out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But we have the next thing blatantly is in Far From Home, when they start talking about this is my favorite one I like to talk about because a lot of people overlooked it. They go into the room with S.H.I.E.L.D., right? S.H.I.E.L.D. has some of the smartest, intelligent minds on the planet. They have an insane amounts of science, reconnaissance. So, like, they spot... Bro, I don't think people remember, but S.H.I.E.L.D. literally spied on Tony Stark without him knowing. It happened in Iron Man 2 when they planted Black Widow on him, and he had no idea. He's like, yo, you're fired, bro. You got to get up out of here. Like, you're bugging. But, Tom walks into the room, and he starts talking about multiversal theory and things like that, and, like, string sets. And then they call him a nerd, and then Mysterio's like, never apologize for being the smartest in the room. And you can take this of Tom being the smartest person out of everybody and nobody even understood what Tom was talking about. They're like, yo, what are you on about right now? Like,
and I mean, also, not to mention, what was her name? I know that it's Fury and who?
Maria Hill.
Maria Hill. They're Greece, so they're from space. They know about like other space stuff and whatnot. But they didn't know anything about them.
But wasn't the Maria Hill and Nick Fury? They were the Skrulls, correct?
Yeah, they were Skrulls.
Yeah, they're Skrulls, which it makes it even worse.
Yeah, it makes it even worse.
Yeah, they know about that kind of stuff.
They are literally, because we know that at least they're Skrulls. Like them as Skrulls, they are incredibly intelligent. They've come from space. They should realistically be smarter than nearly everybody on the planet. And then in comes Tom, and it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, Tom just shits on them, bro, like casually.
And this man was getting into it too. This man's like, "Oh my god, yeah, they got the bubble theory or something." I don't know.
He was discussing like quantum theories and shit.
And then to go back to what Kruos said on him like making what Doc Ock couldn't, like perfecting what Doc Ock couldn't. What makes that so much worse is that Doc Ock and Tobey are directly compared in intelligence. Like, they are relative in intelligence, so that's what they're implied to be. And in comes Tom, who's making Doc Ock look like an idiot.
Yeah, and not to mention the mirror dimension, something that he's never seen before, uses geometry and outsmarts Doctor Strange.
He doesn't just use geometry. In about 5 seconds, he adapted almost instantaneously and realized, oh wow, this is just geometry.
Oh wait, real quick. Yeah. He uses the Archimedes circle and shit, right? Kruos, you know who you know, like the debater Archimedes, right? Yeah. As soon as he said that's an Archimedes circle, I immediately in my head just heard Archimedes spurging his ass off. I'm like, oh,
yeah, there's the Archimedes. I sent it in the chat. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely In this case, the fact that Tom was able to do that is impressive. Some other thing that's impressive is sometimes in the MCU, whenever they're defining magic or what it is, they just simply say, or like even Thor, they basically say that magic is simply science that people on Earth don't understand.
That is true.
So in this case, whenever there's characters using magic or certain characters like Tony Stark have to adapt to it, they're trying to figure these things out. It's basically them testing their earthly science against other planet science, right?
Literally.
And even when that happens, Tom instantly adapts and he figures out this level of science, even despite it being this different dimension and it being this insane amount of thing. And even the ancient one in the first Doctor Strange movie saying things like, "Oh, you don't even know half the stuff of what you're talking about. Like, let me brain blast you right now." And then he just overloads his mind with all this information and like forms of things. So it's just impressive that Tom is able to adapt like that.
Yeah.
And to add on to the whole point he was making about Tobey and Doc Ock's comparison, yes, they actually bounce off each other in the original Spider-Man 2, and we actually have a case here that whenever Tobey appears in No Way Home and he says, I have a cure for Green Goblin, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he says is, I've been thinking about this for a while, right? So we know in Spider-Man 2, he wasn't thinking about it. There's no indication that he was ever thinking about Green Goblin in that second movie. The third movie, there's no indication at all either, right? So this most likely takes place after the Spider-Man 3. So if Tobey is contemplating how to cure Green Goblin, that means that he has to had all this time, and he said for a while, like it's implied, like he's been doing this, like he's been at it trying to figure this shit out, right?
Right.
So if it takes him that long to figure that out, and Tom looks at Doc Ock in a couple of 30 minutes, maybe an hour, he's like, "Oh, okay, well, here, I'm gonna go ahead and cure you." Like,
let me just throw some shit together. Yeah, it works. Pretty much.
Oh, he also does. You can also take the Tony Stark feat too. The Tony Stark. I forgot what it's called, but it's like the little. It's like the table that they use to craft their suits. For you to even be able to do that on Far From Home, which is they have this beautiful scene where he gets on the plane with Happy, and he also does in No Way Home as well. But he gets on the plane with Happy, and he starts crafting his own suit, and you hear the Iron Man 2 music start to play, and he's like, "Yo, he looks just like him, right?" In this case, you have Tom using this technology that is incredibly advanced. Like the stuff on there is insane. And Tom is just piecing it together. He's piecing all that shit together into. He's never even looked at it before either. He figured it out instantly.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, it's obvious he's got the intelligence. There's no way around it. Not to mention, to make things worse for Tobey, he never once mentions anything about the multiverse. But as soon as Andrew shows up, he's like, "Oh, so the multiverse," and he goes into this whole thing. He's like, "Oh, so you know about it? Okay." So yeah,
definitely there's.
All right, so this is a perfect one. Oh, Kruos, you're gonna love this one. You're gonna love this. Tobey always held back against his villain, so it makes sense as to why he would win.
Tobey always what?
Held back against his villains.
He didn't hold back against.
Oh my god! Yeah, something. Well, Jesus Christ! Something that's actually funny. If you guys can fact check this. Anyone watching the stream or whatever this is uploaded, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at all the Spider-Man's altercations with all their villains, for the most part, besides Andrew and Electro, and maybe you can make an argument for Andrew versus the Lizard during certain situations, not all of them, right? Tobey typically fighted a lot of his villains with bloodlust and rage all the time. So it's the case that if you look at any of the situations, Tobey versus Goblin, when he just has enough, he's fighting with bloodlust and rage. You look at him versus Sandman, he's a demon, he's fighting him with bloodlust and rage. You look at Doc Ock during a certain occasion, he was pounding him, kicking him in the face. They're going back and forth, right?
His fighting
he always fights his villain with that intensity, right? But if you look at all of Tom's interaction, Tom never wanted to fight the Vulture. He didn't even care. His whole thing was trying to stop the Vulture and save him. Even in the end, when his glider's about to blow,
he's straight up said, "I'm trying to save you."
He never ever went full out against any of the villains he ever fought. The only character that you can maybe argue for is Thanos, but even then, he's just trolling. He wasn't even taking Call Obsidian serious. So it's you have this case for Tom just kind of being really lighthearted and easygoing and never really going out his all. The only time we've seen him bloodlusted maybe is during the final battle with Goblin. And we know he was weakened and things were present there. So
yeah, no.
Oh no, this is one that this one I was meaning to touch on is Goblin. Because the amount of people that try and push this argument is ridiculous. They say Tobey was relative to Goblin when they fought when he was injured, but Tom, in his first fight with Goblin, got his ass kicked.
Oh my god!
This is where my issue comes from. There are two issues. One is mentality. Tom's mentality right now, his morale currently is shaken beyond belief. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He just had somebody who he was trusting just turned on him. his aunt is being threatened a bit, so he's not even really, he's focused on just trying to keep Goblin at bay.
Yeah.
And he's also looking at this crazy motherfucker who's eating elbows to the face and is laughing. We see him like in shock of just, oh.
Oh yeah, he was panicking.
He's never, like, I've said this before, but people will always try and say, well, what about the aliens that tried to kill him? And because I misworded it, but he has never fought a villain like Green Goblin whose sole intent is to break him. His Goblin's sole intent is to break him. He's never fought against something like that.
If a motherfucker is philosophical, he wants to break you. Literally. Yeah. That's pretty much that. Yeah, I mean, like, if he gets philosophical on your ass, he's gonna try doing something crazy. That's just how it is.
There's no way around it.
You could have, like, even in, like, the Goblin's, like, little monologue scene in No Way Home, like, as he was kind of going on, like, you can tell, Tom could tell that he was kind of fooling the other, villains in the room, and you could see the anxiousness, like, on his face. He was kind of like, shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah, but he didn't know what. That's the thing. Well, I mean,
and he was in no way ready. He was still trying to help them.
Yeah. Because why would you want to kill the same thing you've been trying to save for the past hour and a half?
Exactly.
I just don't get that argument. Like, why kill the thing you just put so much effort into?
And no, and then after his morale has been shaken in the final battle, he's ready to go, and now he knows what Goblin is about. He kicks Goblin's ass while severely wounded.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not playing around.
I mean, so I've never understood that argument.
Tobey
would fall into play with his ability to adapt to certain situations. Like he struggled against Goblin the first time, but the second time he knew exactly how to counter him.
Yeah, to add on to like this whole Goblin thing. So I know you might have heard some of the stuff I said about it previously, Grant, but like one of the things I like to reference, like I said, I think it's really important that some people like to hear, they're like, whoa, you just argued that they're nerfed or something. Mental state is key when it comes to Spider-Man's character, his strength, and everything about himself, right?
Yeah.
You have to take all that into account. And one of the important things is some of the dialogue that's exchanged and what's happening, right? So you have, first of all, some people need to understand the gap of Far From Home and No Way Home is minuscule, like it's right after, bro, smack after. So, like, that doesn't mean that like Spider-Man doesn't still feel bad about Tony. You're still not facing stuff like that, right? He gets his identity doxed to the world, so he's facing turmoil, stress. He's never really been pressed like this, right? His friends and all these factors are happening to himself as a character. His friends are getting to college and MIT. Feels bad about that, right? And then he gets put into like a moral kind of position where he has to choose whether he has to send these villains back home and kill them. And technically that would be the right thing to do because that's protecting the multiverse and billions of other people who live in it, right? And that should be the thing to do. But then he has to listen to May and kind of like argue and debate with himself. What is the right thing to do? Do I want to help these people? Do I want to risk this? Is it worth the risk, right? And when he finally gets into the room or Happy's apartment and he starts curing the villains, he thinks he actually has a chance. He thinks he's actually going to change them. But when that Green Goblin, situation unfolds, it's kind of like a shock factor. It's like, yo, like what has happened? He's like, yo, Meg, run, get up out of here. You have to leave. And he has to deal with the fact of, I have to make sure May's out of the building. It's all my fault. Electro's trying to kill me. Goblin's trying to kill me. And I failed. I locked Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension. There's like all these factors affecting his point of view and his mental state as a Spider-Man. And then you have some interesting dialogue that Goblin likes to make where he says, you're strong enough to have everything you want in 2 weeks to take it. Right. And that's kind of like a direct contrast or a sense of like a dichotomy from what they actually reference in the beginning of the trailer of the movie in general, where they say things like, you want to have everything, but you have to choose, right? In this case, Goblin's acknowledging that Tom can have what he wants in this situation, but he doesn't want to take it. So
yeah, he can
either take that. Yeah,
he said you're struggling to have everything you want while the world forces you to choose.
Yeah, but even in the building scenes, he says, he says that in the trailer, but then on the building scenes, he says, yeah, you're strong enough to have it, and you could just take it. He doesn't even reference choosing. He says you can have it all. So in this case, he's either referencing the fact that he could simply have everything. He could send them back to their reality and just be done with it. Or he's referencing that Tom is strong enough to overpower him. And with either one of those scenarios that you pick, right, even if you want to say, well, it's probably referencing sending them back to their homes, right? The fact that Tom is not doing that and he's too weak to do so means that Tom is facing mental depression and all these other factors that would affect him mentally because he's not doing so and he's affected by turmoil.
Right.
So it kind of shows you the difference between Tom during the first fight and the second fight. In the second fight, he doesn't care.
Pretty much. He does not care.
Yeah. I liked how Tobey had to remind Tom in the lab that they had to save Norman.
Yeah, we gotta save him all, right?
Tom was like, "Can we just spare just this? Can I make an exception?"
Yeah, but
I mean, let me just make an exception with this one.
But I mean, you also even from the viewer's perspective in the theater, you get that sense of tension. In that small room with all the villains, you're like, oh shit, something's about to go down.
Because you have to remember, Goblin is actively tricking Sandman, who was already on edge. Electro is so close to just snapping, and it's such a terrible situation for Tom.
Exactly, and it's it just doesn't make sense. I don't get that argument because there's so much that goes against what's being said. So, and
it's also weird because you have to take into account that even if you wanted to argue that Goblin was low diff for him and piecing him up, right? Do you not think that's a big outlier inconsistency with how he's portrayed in the movie? The fact that he weakened Tom, pummels and beats the shit out of him, breaks through raw metal with his hand later.
And then the lizard, remember, different, outside.
That's way different.
Got outside of the building. Lizard really grabbed him and just slammed him back into the building.
Yeah. It would also be inconsistent. Like I said, the thing here is that for you to argue that Tobey is superior to Tom or any of these things, you need to at least acknowledge the fact that they're comparable, because Tobey Spider-Man directly has comparable feats with the rest of the Spider-Man while they're fighting on the Statue of Liberty.
Hey,
all of them bounce off each other, they react to each other, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Hey, Kruos.
Yo.
Bro, you reading this chat? You reading this chat right now?
Nah, what's happening?
Bro, okay, so some guy says, what you said, the mental depression, he says, mental depression, most pathetic excuse ever. Tobey had his aunt traumatized in the hospital. He would have been in a darker mindset.
I don't know about you.
He said Tobey would have been in a darker mindset because of his aunt was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well we kind of already addressed that earlier. Obviously, if Tobey is a grown adult and Tobey is facing a situation, anxiety, and all these things, it's different than Tom, a 17-year-old to 14-year-old throughout these movies facing these situations. You can't compare just because Tobey is facing this factor and try to analogize that to a kid. That's like you as a person, honestly, no matter how old you are right now, saying that if you're 18 plus, dude, and you're basically saying, well, if my aunt or my brother dies, it's the same thing for a 14-year-old aunt or brother dies. You know how selfish and inconsiderate that sounds? And that's not to say your pain doesn't matter. It's simply to be you can't compare the two situations, two different factors here. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that there's certain conditions or times where Tobey Spider-Man is nerfed and he's weakened as well. Even in the second movie, he loses his powers somewhat. He could barely use them, right? Yeah. But we see him regain them, and we see him fight these villains, and we see what happens, and they're still comparable. He's always comparable to his villains, even at his fullest. Right. While we've never seen Tom fight his villains at his fullest.
Exactly.
Okay, so can I take this really quick to just address the guy? Yeah, sure. Eleswick, however the fuck you pronounce your name. you said that that Tobey is stronger and he has shown more feats. Now, if you hear from the start of the video, you would understand this. We're going to went over everything that Tom has done, how much greater it is from Tobey's. Tobey's best feat, being the train feat, is only about 187,000 newtons, whereas Tom's fairy feat is 31 million newtons. We also have established that Tom is far smarter than Tobey is, has a better spider sense than Tobey. If you want to bring up that, Tobey had his trauma of his aunt being traumatized, which, even if you want to say that they have the same brain, same mindset, react to these things the same way, which they don't, but let's say they do for benefit of the doubt on your part, which one's going to hurt you more? Your aunt being traumatized,
or your aunt getting murdered,
or your aunt being murdered right in front of you, and you blame yourself because you failed to stop it.
Yeah, it's more trauma.
And then you're forced to leave her body because a SWAT team is coming at you.
They violated. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they honestly did, bro. It's like, what the hell, dude?
And then you have to watch like a news reporter just talk about how everything is your fault, like right afterwards.
So another person is trying to say, I thought Tobey's best feat was either holding the wall, being pulled against the sun. Okay, here's the thing
we can talk about that. We can talk about that. Let's go into that one. Let's go into that one.
That was it here because I've done star stuff in my chemistry classes and shit. So let's compare this. So the sun thing, that was not the gravitational force of the sun. If it was, the Earth would have literally been destroyed. So that's a no.
Yeah, exactly.
It was only a wall. This wall was a relatively thin wall that Tobey held up. Tom did a very similar thing in Homecoming, and in fact lifted up more of a building than Tobey did. The same guy. Tobey lifted part of a building, held a car full of children.
Wait, Tekka, can I go back to the sun? Can I go back to the sun thing?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, so let's get the inconsistencies out of the way, all right? So if
Mary Jane was holding off
Mary Jane apparently is star level. Apparently she's star level. Her durability is insane. She's at point blank.
She's holding on to it as well. It's really dumb.
Yeah, she should have been ripped into pieces, but I guess not. You know, that makes sense.
Also for the people arguing that it's a sun, like it just shows you kind of just don't watch the movie. The only statement they make about the same device is they actually reference that it's an artificial sun, and it's not actually a real one, and it's not replicating one. It's more so just like the energy and what it's amassing.
It's like, just a ball of gas with gravity, and that's it.
They also like to use the power of the sun in the palm of my hands.
Yeah, they love to use that because, like, oh, it's the sun. But then they also reference Tony Stark's arc reactor being the power of the sun. So that alone would go to show...
Electro star level?
Yeah, Electro star level. Tom was able to tank an attack from Electro 3 different times. He's star level.
Tom star level?
Andrew star level? Because he took an attack that was, like, way longer.
Okay, this man's trying to bring back up the fairy feet. Okay, so you're trying to say that, it was only 6 seconds. Good for you. Okay. Once again, Tobey's best feat was 4 to 7 seconds holding the train. That train, once again, count that force that he had to exert to hold that train was 187,000 newtons.
Regardless of the time he had to hold it. Math is math. Weight is weight.
6 seconds Tom held it is still far above the 47 seconds of Tom holding the train because his feet, once again, calculate the feet for yourself. Do some basic math. It's not that hard.
A good example, just to address what Alice is at, like we're saying it, bro, it was only 6 seconds. So Alice, if I give you let's say 35 pounds, right? And you hold 35 pounds for 20 minutes, right? And then someone gives me 250 pounds, and I sit there and I hold 250 pounds for 6 seconds, right? Do you think that just because you hold it 35 pounds for that amount of time, it compares to me holding 250 pounds for 6 seconds? Like, obviously, in this case, I'm stronger than you. Like, I'm lifting more force than you.
Yeah, plus you're putting more effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like in this case, it's just basic fundamentals.
Oh my god, dude, that stupid argument. Oh, the fairy was being held together by the webs, dude.
Allow me. You know the fairies. I got this. So where the 6 seconds count comes from is after the webs had already snapped. After the webs snap, Tom is holding it just him for 6 seconds. So that the webs in no way helped with this calc. Stop trying to use that. You sound ignorant as fuck.
I mean, again, it's a Herculean hold. Literally look up the definition of a Herculean hold. It is a glorified version. Plus, it's more difficult because he doesn't have a ground to stand on. He's using his wrist strength, his forearms, his biceps, and his back. That's it. He doesn't have anything to stand on to balance that weight out. So he's strictly using his arms.
Which is even worse.
It is worse. And he came out of that unscathed.
If you look at it, like, again, like, I have the clip here saved. Like, even if you look at it,
post it.
Someone asked in hand-to-hand combat who would win, Tobey or Tom. No, Tom.
I was gonna say, did you just say Toby?
Andrew wins for sure.
That was the first one that came up, and I was because that was like the first name, and I was about to just say Toby by accident, but no, Tom.
Oh, Kruos. There's also, I think y'all missed this. It's like some guy said it's funny how black suit Spider-Man no diffs.
No.
No.
Is there any Tekkadan, is there any actual evidence that the black suit amps the user by like any more than they already are?
No.
Well,
or is it just a personality change?
Kind of, but it seems to vary. Like for Tom, he doesn't get nearly he does get a buff, but it's not nearly as big of a buff as like say as what Eddie Brock got because
I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find
this guy just said MCU Spider-Man stands make an hour podcast and then called Tobey fans cultish. No Tobey fan is as weirdly dedicated as y'all. What?
How do you think the argument got here?
wait. I'm gonna post this. I'm just gonna forget that Tobey fans started this first and continue even after all the evidence we provide. Continue this on for months, if not borderline a year. So compare that to this hour-long podcast.
I don't even think it. I found that comment funny because the thing is, Tobey has not been seen for over a decade until No Way Home, and they've been comparing Tobey to all the Spider-Man for over 10 years. So I mean, like that's kind of
like that's what's critical.
There are videos that go back as 3 or 4 years of there's like content creators such as like Gubbs, if y'all have heard of him. He made, who's like a mathematician, he made videos on Tom versus Tobey. Like people back, like this isn't just a recent thing that we're starting. This has been happening ever since Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man existed.
Look in the chat. This is something from the most recent one. It does not compare because you held more than me, but I held it longer, so it still does not matter because you held more weight than me. What? Excuse me?
I mean, it sounds like he's agreeing to that. I mean, yeah, it says it does not compare because you hold me. Because I told him, how does that compare? So he says it doesn't compare. So if you're saying that it doesn't compare because I'm holding more than you, but you held it longer, it doesn't matter because I still hold more weight. Yeah,
he's still holding more weight.
Yeah, you would.
This guy,
agree.
I'm writing.
Yeah, it sounds like he's virtually agreeing to what I said, though.
This guy just stated that if anyone thinks that Tobey and Tom are relative, they just admit that black suit slam.
Well, okay, so let me. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. It's funny people mention that, but even if I don't, I know for a fact it's referenced.
His name is LYRIN15.
No. There's a guy that actually explains the symbiote suit. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But even if I can't, they still reference the same thing in the movie, so it doesn't matter. But basically, what the guide says, or what's in the movie as well, is when they actually explain the symbiote suits. It's funny seeing Tobey's like eating food and the girl's feeding him, and he's like, yeah, whatever. He's like ignoring her, he's brushing him off, while the scientist is telling him what the symbiote suit does. And essentially, the symbiote suit is a personality change. That's what it does for him. It actually references how the symbiote suit increases his confidence and makes him stop being like a dork, a nerd. He stops doing those things. He feels way more confident in his action. That's why he goes into the street. You have the big bully Maguire memes and the stuff that he says and he does. He's way more confident. There's nothing here that says, in this case, that Tobey's power shoots through the roof exponentially. And even if you wanted to use like a comic reference or try to use that to support a narrative, that's even worse because even in the comics, the symbiote does not make Spider-Man stronger. And there are several statements for that as well. So, yeah, I mean, the symbiote doesn't increase his strength like exponentially like people say it does.
It just increases his horniness.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people are going to try to use the argument. It's like, well, he was able to take on Sandman, and he beat Sandman. Which it doesn't know that.
The Sandman, bro. Let me tell you something. Sandman would have slammed Tobey in any situation except for the one that they got put in. Let me tell you why, right? So about that situation, if you look at the ending scene between Tobey and Sandman, first of all, Tobey can't beat Sandman. He has no way to actually overcome the raw properties of Sandman. There's no way he can beat Sandman, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why he beat Sandman is because he took Sandman, he managed to hit him against a train, and the train dragged the sand away from him, right? He was getting sand away from Sandman.
Right.
He's not overpowering Sandman, which is completely different. Then we see Sandman fall in the water. He becomes muddy. That's when Tobey takes advantage of this. Tobey at any point in time has never been stronger than a full power Sandman. Never. Even when they fight in the ending scene, he has to team up with Harry, and they still can't beat Sandman. Like,
and I mean, I want to put it out there that the Goblin Bomb, the same one that Tom tanked point blank, put Sandman out of commission for at least a minute or two. The same one that beat Venom as well.
It took an entire piece of his head off.
Exactly. So it's like...
It blew a chunk of his head off.
Would you look at that? Newton's third law, durability equals AP. How crazy is that?
Okay. Someone really wants us to answer this. So I'd like you to address your friend dubbing the sun and acting like our own being appealed to reality. I don't know who said it would be an appeal to reality, or someone is trying to say that me saying that it's an art that it isn't. I think he's saying that me saying that the sun doesn't have the same gravitational pull is an appeal to reality. That's not how that works, because it's never contradicted. Do you not know what an appeal to reality is? An appeal to reality requires a contradiction of an IRL thing.
I mean, there's that as well as the fact of what I said blatantly, the fact that they literally just say it's an artificial sun. So,
we have made IRL, might I add. We have made a tiny artificial sun before.
And I think the novelization, I don't know if it stated it to be a sun. I remember seeing something on it, but it said like the gravity was pulling things in, or could have.
Yeah. So what they said, what the statement of the novelization says, I'm familiar with it. It basically says that what it's doing is it's pulling like people. Oh, they love to wank the shit out this feet. The statement basically references the fact that the force of like this artificial sun is pulling all the metal in New York City, right? Mm-hmm. And they will try to use that to calculate the amount of force that it's amassing to be like, well, it's this strong, right? Which isn't how gravity works at all. Yeah. Also, you have Mary Jane literally holding on despite Mary Jane being near it, and obviously that wouldn't be consistent. Right. So there's a lot of inconsistencies here. But when they're saying all the metal, they're obviously using it in a hyperbolic sense, because we do see metal being pulled, we do see cars being pulled, we do see some poles and signs being pulled. Right. But none of it is tremendous to the fact that all the metal buildings are snapping and busting, an entire skyscraper came out the ground. That's not what happens. It's simply metal is being pulled on and tugged upon that is near the force of the sun. It's completely different.
Someone says it's a magnetic pull, not a gravitational pull. So that completely disregards the fact that it's a sun in general. It's just a ball of gas that doesn't have any properties regarding a sun if it's just a magnetic pull, because an actual sun doesn't discriminate. It'll quite literally destroy anything. Definitely. If it gets close enough to it. Mm. That's just how that works.
The sun is the definition of equality.
Yeah, the sun is the definition of equality. It does not discriminate. Also, Kruos, there's someone who says, have you read the Spider-Man 3 novelization? It says that black suit Tobey no diffs Tobey. Normal suit.
That's not what it says. So what? Okay. I can actually, let me see if I can find it. I think I have the link to it as well. But okay. Yeah, it's not what it says. All of it just referencing his personality and how it does. It's completely different.
Okay.
So let me see.
Also, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but an implication isn't always a 100% confirmation. Correct?
Yeah.
That is very true. I've used that on multiple debunks for characters before, where it's like it's not a definitive statement. You can actually use that to debunk it.
So yeah, one of the things, even if you read this is funny because like I said, they love to take stuff out of context, right? Mm-hmm. Foreshadowing the piano scene at the restaurant. In the scene where Peter tells Aunt May he plans to propose to Mary Jane, he notices her piano and sits down to play. Aunt May makes a joke that he was not very good at, and he says that it's not true and attempts to play, right? It then goes on to say, this is a sharp juxtaposition where he's able to expertly master the keyboard during his date with Gwen and gave the scene a bit more meaning, showing just to what the extent the symbiote enhances his abilities. So people use that to try to say, in this case, the symbiote is like enhancing Tobey's abilities drastically, when all it's referencing is the fact that it allows him, it does, give him these talents and these things, but that doesn't inherently mean that it's like enhancing his sense whatsoever, or any case, or anything else. So, I mean, there's nothing that really kind of keys in on that fact. But
oh, okay. Well, here's another one. It's basic. A character like Hydro Man could defeat Sandman much easier and quicker than. That's because water turns sand into mud. Does that mean Hydro Man is stronger than Spidey?
I mean,
that's not what we're saying at all. But
No, it seems like he's referencing the Goblin thing because he said extreme heat turns sand into glass. Of course, Goblins been have an advantage. I mean, yes, but people don't understand. Whenever it comes to like weaknesses, or people be like, "Well, heat can turn something to glass." You still need like an amount of force, exerted in joules to still dictate how powerful something is. And obviously, if I take a match, right, and I go into my kitchen or I get a pile of sand and I just take a match or a lighter and I light the sand, it's not going to catch on fire. It's not going to turn to glass. And how it works. It takes a certain amount of heat, and that amount of energy is still more than what we see. Every single time any of the Goblin bombs have ever interacted with Tobey's Spider-Man, he's always been severely damaged. It always does more damage than him. And we even see this during the apartment fight when Tobey fights Harry. They're able to swap blows. They fight each other. They're beefing over MJ's kiss and talking about like how soft MJ's lips are and stuff like that. And Tobey turns around when Goblin tries to or Harry tries to sneak a bomb and throw it at Tobey while he's not looking. Tobey reacts, takes the bomb and throws it at Harry, and he passes out. It completely knocks and incapacitates him because those bombs have always had higher, potency than anything that Harry or Tobey possessed, and it's always been that way. So.
Right.
It even sent him through buildings, bro. He got slapped with one of those bombs in Spider-Man 1 and just flew through the walls. That's
exactly. And I mean, okay, so the force of the pull is determined by mass and distance. The sun was able to pull cars from so far away. Tobey's feeling a higher force. But again, it's inconsistent considering Mary Jane.
Why was the symbiote enhance Eddie but not Tobey? Sure, I can answer that for you. In this case, so what the symbiote does, and this is they actually pulled this from the comics when they also did it in the Spider-Man movies, right? The symbiote is obsessed with Spider-Man, right? And what it does is it models itself after Spider-Man in terms of even how it web slings, even when it's taking control of Eddie, it copies his design, it copies every single thing that Spider-Man does and loves, right? It copies all that, right? And it essentially adds that to Eddie, and it's able to change and able to enhance Eddie, right? But in this case, whenever it goes on Spider-Man, it's not necessarily enhancing him. It's more so just mimicking him. So Eddie is getting a drawback, or Eddie is being enhanced with these abilities, and he's able to do these things that he's not normally able to do. But that doesn't affect Spider-Man because Spider-Man isn't getting those things. It's simply, again, just changing his personality, making him more true. It wants to see the best in Spider-Man versus Eddie. It just wants to replicate Spider-Man to destroy.
It just needs
Spider-Man.
A host, pretty much.
Yeah.
It wants to be able to.
Completely different.
Okay, so if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna quickly debunk the sun argument for Tobey's feeling a higher force. Here's the thing, right? It's outright stated and shown that it doesn't actually pull people in; it only pulls metal. The reason why Mary Jane was being pulled in was because she had a chain on her leg. She had a chain on her leg, and so she was holding on to a pole, a wooden pole, might I add.
Yeah.
And it was because she had the chain on her leg. As soon as the chain was taken off by Tobey, she drops to the ground, is able to essentially walk away. Tobey's not feeling any of the force. He doesn't have any metal on his body. He's really not feeling any of this force.
To help you out,
let me just say this really quickly. The person that brought up the force of the pole is determined by mass and distance. Tobey was feeling a higher force. Basically just stated they're missing my points on purpose. They're being dishonest now.
How are we missing your points on purpose? What?
Okay, so to respond to what he said though, and just counter him because I've seen the movie multiple times, by the way, and this is also to help you, Tekka. The statement they make about the force, funny enough, they actually say magnetic in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, go ahead. My bad, Kruos. My bad.
I was gonna say, so when it comes to gravity, you're trying to argue that this force is more impressive. It's a magnetic force, which is much different than accounting for gravitational force, and it would be way different to calculate, and it wouldn't even be impressive in the same sense that it would if it was a gravitational force.
And plus, I just want to add another thing. If it was an actual sun, on two different instances, right? If it was an actual sun, wouldn't the metals in our body be pulled in as well? Because we got metals in our body and whatnot.
Wait, I need to point this out. There's somebody just saying this, right? That just said this. They are extremely biased in favor for Tom. The fanboy mindset is so toxic. I've never seen a Tobey fan as toxic as.
Well, you obviously haven't seen that one guy who literally said,
let me pose a question to you then. How are we being toxic? How are we being biased? Point out flaws in our argument. Do something along those lines. If you cannot do so, sit down and shut up.
Literally, like, this is the same. I'm not joking. This is the exact same arguments that every single Tobey fan has come up with.
Yeah.
And it's
The
like,
reason why you are calling us biased is you have no other way of disproving our arguments.
yeah, it's not like we're saying,
Well,
Toxic Tobey fans are the worst people ever.
We are absolutely open to hear your argument.
Bro, listen, I have bro. It has nothing to do with bias, bro. Let me give you an example, right? So there's this argument, and I'm one of the people who like made the argument, and I thought about it, and there's a way that you can actually argue that Andrew is the strongest Spider-Man, or at least Andrew is second, right? Yes.
No,
yes.
fucking.
And it comes from it's purely based off of like his interactions with Electro. He reacts to Electro the most. And Andrew literally tanks Electro's lightning the longest out of any of the Spider-Man. They all get blasted away. Electro continuously throws joules of electricity into Andrew's body.
I am actually one of the people that do think that Andrew is in contention with Tom with durability.
Yeah. I do agree. I think against Electro, I think Andrew has like the best durability feats against Electro. And I don't even, bro, it has nothing to do with like me hating Tom, Tobey, or any, like, it's just me representing the feats that it showed. And Tobey just has the least impressive feats. And even then, I still think Tom peaks above, because I think there's way more arguments and consistency for it, as well as like, his mental state and how he is. So I think Tom is the strongest. But based off of, other stuff, there's still an argument for some of the other Spider-Man. There's definitely an argument to be made. It just happens that Tobey doesn't have the leverage. Now, as far as future titles, and if he pops up in like Multiverse of Madness and does something crazy, then sure. But like, there's not a lot working for him in a sense. And I know one of the things that I was going to bring up that people like to do to help him is they'll try to argue that argument that Tobey gets exponentially stronger throughout the Spider-Man movies. Oh, I love this one because it ends in a loophole and a contradiction, right? They'll say Tobey got exponentially stronger throughout the Spider-Man movies, and essentially Harry received a higher dosage of the Goblin Serum, and he should be way stronger than Norman, right? Because he mastered the serum. First of all, the thing that made Norman so strong is the fact that the serum was unbalanced, and that's why he has that split, personality and that dissociative disorder and all these things, right? Which makes him so sporadical and powerful. And the case for you arguing that he's able to casually one-shot or take out Harry easily, so he should be able to casually one-shot and take out Norman. Do you not realize how like big of a contradiction that is? Like, how would he one-shot Norman, but then he gets in No Way Home and doesn't one-shot any of the villains that are weaker or comparable to Norman?
Exactly, but the Lizard, he kicks him and doesn't do anything about it. Like, the Lizard's supposed to be weaker.
This guy in the chat actually pointed out something that I want to touch upon. He said, I swear some Tobey fans put opinion and fact on the same boat when acknowledging strength feats. Tobey being your favorite and, in your opinion, better Spider-Man doesn't make him stronger than Tom just because you don't like Tom. That's like the most factual thing I've seen in this damn chat.
Exactly.
I want to point this out. Someone just said that people might be calling y'all biased because y'all aren't talking about the main Tobey arguments.
We already have.
We've talked.
We've already done that.
We have this stuff written down.
You probably just joined the primary ones. But we definitely addressed like pretty much like all that stuff.
The main argument.
We've addressed the key points in this argument.
Yeah, we're just going over the other stuff. Again, we're touching base on everything. I mean, we're getting into the nitty gritty stuff, so y'all can shut up about it. Because it's like, again, it's been going on for a year now, okay? And it's like, you need to get it done, okay?
I even went on Chicken Lord's account to look up for shitty arguments.
Damn.
Funny enough though, he's not like, Tobey doesn't one-shot or blitz these villains like he should be if he got exponentially strong and he's blitzing and one-shotting Harry like people like to argue. So the fact that he's not performing, to that level in No Way Home just shows it. I've seen people try to make the argument that like Tobey is older or Tobey is out of his prime, which you can't prove. The reasoning for trying to prove that is saying that he has a back problem. Andrew has the same back problem, and it's implied it just comes from swinging. So again, there's nothing here to justify him just being out of his prime. You're going to argue Andrew's out of his prime too, so there's like issues there. And even if you look at like some of the statements that they make, funny enough, they say a really funny thing, right? They say, who are like the craziest villains that you guys have fought or toughest villains? And it's in like reference to how like powerful like what these guys have done, right? Mm-hmm. And they start listing them out, and Tobey directly says you are fighting some of them right now. Like these are the guys. These are like my threats, bro. Like these. And if you notice, Tom is not fighting any of them at full power. He's not fighting any of them bloodlusted. He's not mad. He's casually just taking them on, doing what he has to do. He straight up runs the fade with Lizard, jumps through the portals, like get away from MJ and Ned, starts boxing them up. Like he's taking on their villains.
Yeah.
And if you notice, chronologically, they start naming off their villains, it seems like, in terms of power and how they actually come out like sequentially, because it's like, yo, what else have you done? And then Tobey references Venom, or he references the Black Goo. Andrew references the Rhino, and then after that, Tom references Thanos. And if someone was to argue, well, that's just because they come after, that's not the case, because literally Mysterio and other people come after, and Tom doesn't name them. So it's definitely in reference to how powerful these characters are. And the case here is that Tom is still casually, taking these characters on, which is fine. So
yeah, someone said the Lizard also slammed Tom in the last fight, No Way Home.
Yeah, and Tom beat the shit out of the Goblin with a broken rib cage.
Yeah, so I don't see that argument really holding any water. Okay.
I the shot with the gun.
I don't get that, but okay. So I don't. Okay. Anyways, all right. So going back to the whole, I don't know if you addressed this, Kruos, or I don't know. Harry Osborn took a stronger dose of the Goblin serum, meaning he's stronger because he got washed by Tobey because Tobey wasn't injured in their fight. The one where he gets hit by at night and he has the wedding ring and everything.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like how people argue that he like one shots him, where he's casually able to take out him and deal with him and eat cookies and milk and do stuff like that. I'm like, dude, if you're arguing that's the case, then he would have performed better, because Goblin and the rest of his villains all have relative or comparable feats. So when he goes into No Way Home, he should be one-shotting or blitzing his villains. And if he's not doing that, you're contradicting your argument. If Tom, literally, I'm telling you, right, with the argument of arguing that he's one-shotting and casually blitzing and easily dealing with Harry, what should have happened is Tobey should have popped up in No Way Home. He should have ran up, socked Electro in the mouth, one-shotted Sandman, and then just beat the shit out of like God. The movie should have been over in 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Tobey was that powerful, but he's not. The case is, like I said, the reason why Norman is so strong is because of the unbalance. Not mastering the serum is actually what made him stronger and so much more potent.
And a lot of people are going to bring up the fact that Sandman was able to grab Tom, and Tom, like, apparently he tried to get out of it, but not really. He just turned around and says, "Don't Flint, we can help you." It's like, I don't care. But it's like, there's one part where he's running.
The formula.
Yeah, he's running, and then he gets hit by Sandman. It's like, oh, so I guess the spider sense isn't there. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because, like, it's not like he's trying to break free from Sandman's grip, unlike Tobey, who literally got overpowered. Again, in one of your videos, Kruos,
Yeah, Tobey got overpowered when he's holding on to like the top of the Statue of Liberty's like helmet, kind of. He's like trying to hold on to the cage, and like Sandman directly overpowers him and throws him. In the case for Tom, he's never really trying to like struggle out, or he's never seen trying to grab him. He can't either, by the way, because he's running and Sandman grabs him off guard. And some people use that to be like, yeah, like you were saying, the spider sense doesn't work. By the way, the spider sense does work, and it is kind of like a passive thing, but the spider sense is iffy, because just because it's passive does not mean the spider sense is going to work automatic 24/7 through every single instance, and it's never been like that for any of the Spider-Man, because you can still be caught off guard if you're Spider-Man. There's still some stuff that can happen to you, and we see him run, and he blatantly just gets caught, and after that, there's nothing for him to grab onto, there's nothing for him to use. Versus, Tobey, we see directly his strength versus Sandman's strength, and Sandman just overpowers him.
Yeah, so. and I mean, even in the Raimi movies, you see, especially at the fight with Doc Ock and Green Goblin, the spider sense is working. He gets hit multiple times. It's like it's not working all the time.
Tobey had to deal with more sand than Tom. It's not even true.
Not even
I don't know where it's coming from.
Oh, but Tobey beat the shit out of both Harry and Norman.
Man.
Good Lord. No, literally no. Tom literally beat the shit out of Green Goblin. Like, there's already been arguments made to disprove that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... It's like we're repeating ourselves at this point. We're repeating ourselves.
No, that's exactly what we're doing, and that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. People refuse to
the Harry argument is pretty good. The Harry argument is good because he literally one-shotted Harry and knocked him out. He's not vaguely stronger than Harry. He was one-shotting Harry. Even when he fights Harry in the apartment, he's still holding back, and he's like, "You want to go?" and then he just starts tussling with him. He's throwing him. He's not jumping on walls. He's not using any agility. He just casually. It's like a friendly fist fight wager. It's not anything serious.
Yeah, and this is after the black
Toby,
suit.
Toby directly just casually deals with him. So it's not. It's a big difference. He should be one shot, and he should be easily piecing up those villains, and he's not. And again, one of the reasons why Goblin is so strong and Norman was so strong is because of the imbalance. It's what made him so crazy. It's what made him so sporadical, and that aggression and all that stuff comes from his character, which allows him to access that strength.
Wait, so quick question: during the fight with Harry in the apartment, was he wearing the black suit?
Oh no.
Okay,
well, I mean, you can argue. Okay. Well, you can argue. You can argue. Like, I think he might have. I think he had it under his clothing.
Yeah, he did.
I think he just had the. I think he just had.
He didn't have it on though. He didn't have it on while he was fighting.
Okay, so if he didn't have it on, that also goes to prove your point on it. Just changes your personality. Because I mean, he's packing up Harry, he's like and whatnot, but he's not wearing the suit. So it's like the whole personality change is there.
Okay, to correct that, he was actually wearing the suit under his clothes, so he did still have it on.
Okay, so he was. Okay, all right. I thought he did. Never mind then.
But he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't like using it in that sense. So
yeah, well, that's true. Okay, we're gonna get into the first scene. The first scene, Kruos, you talk a little bit on this. Doc Ock beat Tom Holland in No Way Home, and Tobey already beat him. I remember that one video you made debunking that one guy where he blatantly lied to make Tobey seem better. I remember that.
Oh yeah. They'll use things like the argument is basically when Tobey fought Doc Ock in the novelization, what it references is the fact that Tobey is beating Doc Ock's ass so much that the tentacles are screaming in agony. And
I have the actual scan for that. Hold on. I'm gonna send that.
Yeah. The funny thing about that is, well, for one, just because it's screaming in pain doesn't mean anything. They can still be exerting force. We see them still combat Tobey despite them quote unquote screaming in pain. So obviously they're still able to contend. That's like me fighting someone. I can still scream. I can still get stabbed. I can still be hurt. That doesn't mean I can't still exert force to contend somebody. So that's not really doing anything. And then again, like I said, throughout the movie, that first interaction, we see Doc Ock fight Tobey later, and Doc Ock is still able to tag, still able to grab Tobey, still able to blitz him on certain occasions. He's still able to go toe to toe. So even when Tobey regains his spider sense and he's at full capacity and they're fighting, Doc Ock is still relative to him. So it seems like they're still contending, they're still on par with each other, despite people liking to argue that. And if you compare that to Tom's iteration or interaction with Doc Ock on the bridge, it's just still it's nowhere near like what Tom does. Like Tom isn't even focused on him. The only time Doc Ock grabs him is when he's like focused on the councilwoman. You remember he's like, "Yo, you okay?" You know, still trying to get an MIT. Like, "Yo, what's up?" And he grabs him off guard and throws him. It's nothing like Tom is actually taking him seriously. There was never a sign where Tom even felt worried that he didn't have the situation under control.
Yeah, so I mean, it just doesn't. I don't fully understand. Again, I don't understand any of these arguments that people have, bro. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so here's one. I want to answer this myself, all right? Ratcatcher. When Sandman grabs Tom, he tries to pull out of his grip and couldn't. When did he ever try that? He turns around and says, "Flint, we can help you." And he says, "I don't care." And then he tries to bring the crane down, and then out of nowhere, the Andrew comes in, hits the bar, and falls. And then Electro shoots the crane. The crane falls on Sandman's arm. And then it's fine. So when does he ever try to get out of it?
Yeah. Very strong. Yeah, very strong woman.
Okay, now the rat catcher King Shark. I don't fucking know. It's basically just said Harry is stronger than Norman, and Tobey handled him with ease. The reason why he doesn't one-shot any of the villains of No Way Home is because they wanted to cure them. Well, but we just established
then that argument, if
Norman
that was the case,
is in fact stronger than Harry. It's because the formula was screwed with.
Yeah.
Oh.
And even then in this case, even if you don't and you wanted to assert that would mean that Andrew is holding back as well, and other characters would be holding back because they want to cure them. I feel like people are taking the cure out of context. Just because you want to cure someone and your goal is not to kill them, the Spider-Man never want to kill anybody.
Here's my thing.
They can still exert their full amount of power and still try to stop these people and want to cure them as well. So I don't get where that's coming from. But,
Exactly.
Okay, so with the rat catcher king shark, you're actively calling us biased and toxic, but you're displaying high levels of ignorance and
toxicity.
toxicity, and you're disregarding what we're saying, and you're disregarding blatant confirmations from these movies. So I don't know why you're being so hypocritical here. And then you're saying, of course you don't get it, Grant, but Kruos and I were the ones that were talking just now.
Yeah. Even if you and to respond to that, Lauren, even if you steel man the fact that he wanted to get out or he tried to, it doesn't matter because Tom has no leverage or anything to pull on. His legs are enclosed. Everything is enclosed. He can't even move. How is he going to grab or get out of sand by touching sand? You know how he has no leverage, so he can't pull anything, right? We have a case where Tobey is on bars, he can physically stay on the bars. The bars didn't even dent, by the way. When Tobey was holding on to the Statue of Liberty's bars, if he's strong enough, he should have been denting them. If Sandman was so strong that he broke his grip, but
exactly.
He didn't. It's just a case of Tobey generally couldn't hold on. He was screaming. He was like, "I need the cure! I need the cure!" Because
he was like,
it was overwhelming him.
Exactly. Hold on, I'm actually gonna send the scene of where Tom Holland is. Stop! I want to send the scene. Hold on. Give me a second.
I just said POV. Rat catcher king shark called you toxic because you have factual evidence against Daddy.
That is, I'm not joking. I think everyone in this chat can agree. This is literally every single time we try to prove a point on this argument.
All right, he basically said this. When was the formula screwed with? Okay, so there's a sequence in Spider-Man 1 where they're discussing the formula. They had to, I remember the line "back to formula." They were basically talking about how it was screwed with, and that's why Norman decided to be the quote unquote test subject for the dose.
They say verbatim. They're like, "It's not ready. We're gonna need more time. I don't have more time." And that's kind of what it's like. Reference like that throughout all the Spider-Man movies. But it's verbatim.
They flat out said they didn't have a they kind of, what's the term? They set him like a time period for him to get it done, and he couldn't make that time, so he had to try it.
Yeah, I mean, I even showed. Okay, so going back to the whole the Sandman thing, I sent in the chat. He never tries to get out of that hand. He never tries it. He just turns around.
He was negotiating with him. He wanted to convince him.
Yeah, he never attempts to. The only thing he really attempts is try to bring the crane down, but then Andrew just gets clotheslined by it. And that's it. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, all right, so here I have a few more. So, all right. I already said this. The Iron Spider suit can't be used in terms of scaling or in versus battles.
Yeah, we already kind of touched on that.
I already talked on that.
We did already touch on that.
Did we touch base on the Iron Spider suit increasing strength and other attributes?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. We basically talked about how it doesn't really increase strength that much, but it does durability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What did we? Hold on. Did you have something to say, Tekka?
Oh, great. Are you having a seizure?
Maybe.
I know pretty much every, honestly.
We might have. I mean, there's a few others. Aunt May weakened Goblin with the first serum in No Way Home before the first fight with Tom.
What?
Oh, that's okay. That can't even be proven because one Goblin verbatim says it didn't work. Norman was right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like
the whole speed, so you can't even prove that the cure worker did anything to him. You can't even prove that it weakened him. And there's also time. There's a time frame that passes afterwards. While we can prove that Tom Holland Spider-Man is still injured, he still has bruises, he's still scarred up. And you can tell that he's still not at the best state of mind either as well. So there's a case to assert that Tom's wounds and everything traveled over versus you arguing that Goblin is weakened or fatigued from the serum. So
exactly, bro. I don't get this argument. Tom does try to get out, but he has nothing to stand on. Bro, did you not watch the scene?
Yeah, I just played the clip as well. All that happens is he grabs him. Tom puts his arms on top of Sandman and he moves around. That doesn't entirely mean he's trying to get out. He moves around. He's like, "Yo, Flint, what are you doing?" Yeah, if Tom Holland wanted to get out, knowing how smart he is, knowing what he would do, Tom Holland would have tried to grasp or get a bar. He would have used a web or some sort to grab at something to try to slingshot himself out or actually pull out. There's no indication of him doing any of that. You want to see an indication? Go look at Tobey versus Sandman. When Tobey runs to the top, he's trying to escape. He grabs onto the bars and he's holding on with dear life. And he's like, "Help, help, help!" He's struggling. and he still can. He gets overpowered. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and the thing, and like to go off what you said, Kruos, Tom literally tries to pull the crane down, but again, he gets clotheslined, and it's like the to see that Tom would be struggling as if he was pushing down and like trying to like strain himself to get out, but he doesn't. He just stand there like, okay, hi there. So I don't get that. I don't understand that.
No. It's okay. So is there anything else we need to touch on? Because we've kind of gone over mostly everything.
I think
we've gone over the most discussed arguments that Tobey fans like to use.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that this rat catcher guy wants to?
I have a few others. I'll just say it, and if we've already done it, just let me know.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Green Goblin laughed at Tom's punches, meaning they weren't doing damage, but Tobey punched him, and Goblin begged. I think
I touched on that at the start with the whole mentality thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we touched on that.
Newton's third law actually helps Tobey in the stalemate with the glider.
I believe we did touch on that because we did talk about.
I talked about how he's.
Yeah, it doesn't go in his favor. Like that's not how the third law works.
Also, Tom's was severely wounded, fatigued, and had broken ribs. So
exactly, and Tobey was struggling. I don't know why people don't get that. Tobey's feats. I think we've already done this. Tobey's feats are infinitely better, and Raimi villains don't take damage. That is a very far reach.
We did actually go through that one too, and it was just funny.
That reaches farther than my dad left with the milk.
No.
He wanted to pull the crane down. I thought he wanted to use the crane as a base to pull himself out. It honestly could have gone either way. Maybe it could have
gone either way. He could have definitely taken that crane down. No difficulty.
Basing it off of scaling the whole fairy thing, it wouldn't be far fetched to have him pull the crane down, would it? I mean,
no, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, so I mean, it could go. I guess you could go either way.
Hypothetically, he could have ripped that crane in half.
Tom held question mark from limping to be able to run and swing.
Goku UFT 5 are you high?
You do, okay, so there's a scene I want to post to here to prove that he did have broken ribs. On top of the fact that he literally said, "I think I have broken ribs." If you say you think you have broken ribs, you have broken ribs. There's no way around it. But there's one part at the very end, or at the start of the second fight with the Sinister Six. Andrew's like, "What is going on out there?" He tries to pick up Tom. Tom starts screaming. He says, "Ow, ow, 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 ow," as he's pulling him up in the same place where the ribs are. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on. Give me a second.
Look up Aunt May death scene.
Aunt May death. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm sad that Aunt May died.
Is it this? Is it this? I'm sad that Steve Jobs caught Ligma.
Ligma what? No.
Who's Steve Jobs?
Who's Steve Jobs?
The fact that some people don't know who Steve Jobs is
Have you ever heard the tragedy of Steve Jobs the Wise?
He was a very wise man.
Very wise. All right, so wait, hold on. Crap. I'm trying to think. Should I post the? I feel like I should do both. Okay, does anyone have the Sandman Tobey scene in No Way Home? Does anyone have that?
I don't see why.
What scene?
The one where he gets pulled back in the statue.
Why. Yes. Actually, I was saying.
Okay.
Let me see.
Okay.
Let me look.
Someone asked Kruos, when are you gonna start debating someone good?
Oh, brother. It's just. But I say that I feel like they say stuff like that no matter who I debate. So
yeah, people say that just to say.
You can debate Gesture 4 times. Don't be like, oh, come on, level it up.
Guys, I've tried to debate myself some bitches, and I've told that to some of my female friends, and they don't understand it. They're like, what does that mean? Like, I don't get it. Understandably, it kind of makes sense. They don't. Why would they get it? All right, where is
Tom? Because Tobey can actually catch a bomb / a joke.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I'm just thinking it's a joke. Everyone fake laugh. Someone asked Kruos, when are you gonna show them lips? No, sleep. Please get out of this stream.
I'm glad.
All right, someone's saying Tom is weaker than Andrew because Lizard beat Tom easier. What?
He didn't beat him.
When did he beat him?
Never beat Tom.
Yeah, when did that happen? What?
What?
Sandman feat doesn't matter. Tom doesn't scale either. Also, Tobey wasn't trying to fight him.
This is cringe, not gonna lie.
Toby doesn't have to try to fight him. Toby just has to try to hold on extra more power. I posted it in chat, by the way. You can see it.
We're trying to help you. Guys, I'm at the top.
Well, that is actually that's actually kind of high quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally gets overpowered.
Yeah, he's trying to hold on. He gets overpowered.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's pretty blatant. He gets overpowered. So
yeah, there's no way around that.
Yeah, he says like at first he's like, I need to kill you. He tries to look through the window, and then after that he realizes that Sandman is trying to pull him, and that's when he tries to resist by forming a hold to hold onto the bars, and then he still gets pulled off easily.
And then he's breathing heavily afterwards.
Yeah.
Immediately. All right, what was I looking for? I completely forget. What was I don't know what I was looking for. What was I looking for? It had something to do with Damn it, I don't remember. What was I looking for? It had something to do with the feats or something. Hold on, I'll scroll up. I don't remember what it was. All right. Anyways, in the process, let's. I have a few more things. Oh, here's one. Tobey was mentally nerfed in Spider-Man 2, yet was able to take on Doc Ock. Tom has a crazy healing factor, and Prime Tobey would destroy Tom.
Where the fuck did they get that Tom has a healing factor?
I don't know. They just pull things out of their ass and say, "Yep, it works."
What?
I don't.
They probably get it. They probably get it from the comics. And trying to carry that on, and also, I mean, I think Tom does have you can argue he has a slight healing factor in the sense
he has advanced healing.
He should have it in the sense that he heals faster than the average person. But there's no way for you to justify him I've seen people try to argue his healing factor, his healing is so good that Tom could heal from the bullet wound as well as all the injuries from the last battle.
Why would you say that he has a healing factor if the cuts on his face from the apartment
they're still there?
Were still relevant?
And he still has 4 broken ribs as referenced when Andrew grabs him. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was gonna look up. Hold on. Okay.
Someone said off topic. Do you think Noah will ever come into this? No. Noah's way too big to be on screen. I did not want to see them ruin him.
Fight. All right, hold on. I did have it saved, but
Poppy is here. Quit simping for Kruos.
So what happened?
This guy is just saying, "I need to see the list."
Okay, found it.
Oh my gosh!
Good God, man.
I've never seen any Tobey fans say any of the arguments covered. I have. Trust me, I've dealt with tons of them.
Okay, well, you obviously haven't been on Toxic Tobey fan TikTok because I've seen every argument that has been displayed by us.
The Iron Spider protected Tom from the bullet. Prove that. Prove that.
We already went over the. Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna just retouch on this one. If you look at what the Iron Spider was, it did not protect your shoulder in any way, shape, or form. It was actually not even meant for defense. It was more of a cosmetic thing. Where we see the bullet hit is in the shoulder area, which once again was not covered by the Iron Spider. I mean, there was no defense there. I mean, Tobey has a bullet in his shoulder the entire time.
I'm sending it to the chat. Here's this one with
I
Andrew.
just said Tobey. Tom
Okay, someone said this. Spider-Man doesn't have a healing factor, or more so accelerated healing, meaning his injuries don't heal immediately, but faster than the average human. That is correct.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
That doesn't just go for Tom. That's kind of a consistent thing within the comics.
Yeah, pretty much. Hold on, what was the other one? Ah, that's it. Okay.
Oh god, they're simping for me now.
Shot by SWAT. Okay.
They're simping for me now. Oh no.
Oh, that's right. I could just look up Aunt May's death. That's so stupid.
Oh no.
He can't debate someone good because he doesn't think anyone is good. Wait, what? Yuna10, who are you implying?
Oh, he's not my Kruos.
No,
okay.
no.
Tekka is hot too, I ain't gonna lie. Okay, but dude, listen, man, you gotta chill.
Yeah, and can we talk about the goblin bombs? I don't know if we've done that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are multiple variations of the goblin bombs. They're the blade ones, and they're also the there's the ones that also just incinerate people. And then there's the standard explosion one.
Right. But they're one and the same. It's like a setting on them, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
But it should still have the same force, right? Shouldn't they? I mean, if it's the
It
same.
kind of differs. Like, there's ones that turn you into skeletons that were only used once that clearly don't have, like, a force. They just kind of do it. But then there's ones that, like, blatantly explode, which is what we're referencing.
Come on. I'm trying to screen record it. But...
Rat Catcher, King Shark, whatever the hell their name is, said the Iron Spider does not... The Iron Spider does, in fact, cover Tom's shoulder. Find me the bullet wound on Tom's shoulder. I paid attention to every scene post him being shot, and not a single wound or hole can be seen on Tom. You must have seen the movie a couple of times.
Wait. Hold up. I'm gonna do us all a favor. I'm gonna pull up the actual Iron Spider. Not the Iron Spider suit, but the what's it called?
Suit.
The integrated suit.
It's a really stupid name, but...
The one that I'm finding is literally blurry, and that's like the worst. I can't find... Okay, hold on. I think I might have one.
Wait, hold up. Oh, yep, got it. Okay,
yep,
so... Oh, no, where he's shot is like right where it doesn't cover. I shit you not.
Yeah, you can see him reeling from it.
It goes over his shoulder, but when you actually look at where he was shot at, it goes like right in between the armor plate.
Wait, send it to the chat. Send it to the chat. Let's look at it. I'll even show it on stream right here.
That's
where he's shot. It goes like right in between the armor plate. It's a figurine, but it doesn't matter. It still works. It goes like right in there. Like
it's like it fit perfectly within the spider slide.
No, okay. So this guy said the incinerate people bomb and exploding one are the same. In Spider-Man 3, Eddie gets turned into a skeleton. No, he didn't. He got completely eviscerated.
No, you actually do see a skeleton. It's just that the way that works, the way that...
Oh, you do? I need to go back to that.
The way that you explain that is they aren't actually the same. It's just that how explosions generally work, at least. If it's
he's talking about like right before the flash, you can actually see the outline of a skeleton.
Yeah. If it's a hot enough explosion, it will first disintegrate your flesh and tissue very quickly, and then your bones. So they are not just that explosions are weird.
Okay. I can't find it. Where is it? It's like they're all blurry. It's like impossible to see the scene.
Let's see.
Well, I mean, we can even just look at it as like, well, he clearly recoils and like holds his shoulder in pain.
Yeah, because if it was the Iron Spider,
listen, if it had hit the metal of the Iron Spider suit on the integrated suit, he wouldn't have fallen on his back.
Yeah, he wouldn't have reeled back that hard. There's no way he would have reeled back that hard.
And I don't want to hear you say he was scared of the shot. No, that you're stupid.
How many times has he been shot at?
Many times. I mean, literally, he dodged a hellfire of bullets.
Okay, you see Tom stagger back from the bullet with the Iron Spider on his shoulder. This is the completely different reaction to when he didn't even care while in the full Iron Spider suit. Tom was clearly not protected from the bullet. Thank you. Good God. Tekka, did you ever... Okay, that's a question for Tekka, I guess.
Yeah.
It literally just says, Tekka, did you ever have a discussion on the strongest Marvel character? Yes.
I need to rewatch some things in Loki before me and James fully do the discussion, because I remember some things a bit differently apparently, so I'm gonna have to do that. But
at this point, I don't even look into like Marvel with scaling because it's so confusing to me.
My God, it's this guy. It does cover shoulder quite clearly where he is shot.
Listen, it covers the very top of his arm.
And
hold on, I've almost got it. I think I may have it.
And it covers part of the shoulder right by the neck. When we see him get shot, it is quite clearly not where the armor is covering. And you keep saying, "Oh, we don't see."
You are being more hard-headed than old.
Wait. We don't see a single bullet wound. Okay, you know the reason why we don't see a bullet wound, and this is common sense here. You know the suit's red, right?
It's common sense.
Peel the color.
Like, if you have a hole, right? If you have a hole that is blood, right? It's blood in a hole from the hole, right? And your suit is red and black. You're not going to see that gun wound very well if it's on the red part.
Appeal to red.
Appeal to red.
Someone's gonna make that a fallacy. I'm gonna shoot myself. I swear to God.
I'm writing that down.
Ratcatcher, stop reaching.
Okay, I found the scene. I'm posting it. It may be a bit blurry, so we might have to wait for the actual thing to come out. But for right now, based on the reeling, you can see that it actually affected him. There's really no way around it.
So, Ratcatcher, what I want you to do is stop reaching for arguments, use some common sense, and learn how to comprehend an argument before you keep making yourself look ignorant.
There we go.
Listen, you don't even look ignorant. You just look like a blatant idiot.
Like, let me be a little bit nice.
You even hear it hit his skin!
Like, you see
If it hit the metal, it would have made a bing noise. It would have.
Okay, look at where he's holding. Look where his arm is. It's on the flesh part. It's not on. Like, look where he holds. Right.
He literally, if that hit the metal, he wouldn't have grabbed his shoulder. It wouldn't have grabbed his arm.
It isn't covered. He's grabbing that part. So
yeah, he's grabbing.
It hits him in the upper shoulder, the upper area of the shoulder.
He wouldn't have grabbed his shoulder in pain. And look at like his face. He's like squinting as hard as he can because it hurts.
It's like right in the and like
it's common sense.
Like hit right in that area. I'll even pull up a better picture because that was the picture, right? I'm gonna pull up actual like live action.
Text to respond is pretty boring. It leads to unfair debate manners. Just do it in a server. Well, even so, like it would just you'd be repeating yourself over and over again, even with the evidence.
Last time we did something in the server almost got nuked. So
yeah, that wasn't a good idea. It was not good. All right,
exactly.
Now that we've got that out of the way, so here's the next one. Tobey, I think we've already covered this. Tobey has better hands, meaning he would win in a fight.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, bro? Look, you know what's funny? So out of all this, okay, so Tobey's Spider-Man is like kind of like notorious for being like a brawler and more so slugging it out with people in close quarters. He definitely does not use his webs as much as he should. Tom uses like webs tactically. He has like fought with like again like Tom has fought way more people than Tobey and Andrew has. It's not even a debate, like it's just factual. You can count them out. But like even then, if you look at Tobey and if you look at Tom's fight with Green Goblin, Tom kind of like does like Black Widow's move. Like he like jumps on like Goblin's head and tries like wraps around him with his legs. And he like it's like he's like using like these forms and like these advanced like techniques. It seems to be whenever he's fighting people, or even the way he fights like Mysterio's drones, or how agile he is, or anything. Like he's just way more versatile. It seems like.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that he threw hands with Bucky Barnes and Captain, both of whom are special forces.
Bucky Barnes and Falcon and Captain America, and also
all three of them are special forces. They have massive hand-to-hand combat experience and skill in that regard. And Tom was holding his own and winning at points. So
yeah, and I even posted something that shows the stats for Cap's and Bucky's arm and whatnot. So it's earlier on.
Is there anything we haven't already covered? I think we've covered all the big things.
Yeah, I believe so.
Other than Ratcatcher just saying like just really ignorant shit in the chat.
Yeah,
we've discussed all the most important topics.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think we touched base on all of them. Yeah. So. All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and look through a little bit.
Okay.
See if
there's any arguments we missed.
If there's any extra arguments if there's anyone in chat that is somehow biased and doesn't know what they're talking about, and wants us to have more material to go off of, please give us your terrible takes.
Goblin laughed at him in his face, and your point.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
I've literally gone over this.
What's the point?
You're giving us more material to like debunk, so thank you.
I'll touch on this one more time. Tom in that fight was mentally staggered. We went over how mentality for a Spider-Man is incredibly important. So Tom not being in the right state of mind is a big nerf. And then we see, while injured, four ribs, broken gunshot wound in the shoulder, and just got done fighting the Sinister Six, 1v1s a basically prime Goblin and beats the shit out of him. So this doesn't work, Ratcatcher. Please stop being ignorant.
I'm so confused. The arguments that are being said now. Trash quantify how weak he got. What do you mean how weak?
Again, he went from losing to Goblin when he didn't have any injuries to beating the shit out of Goblin when he was in his right state of mind but had a shit ton of injuries.
Yeah, he's literally on his last leg. And I hate that argument again. Just because you're bloodlusted doesn't mean you're going all out. That's not how that works. Plus, he can't be using full power because he doesn't have the power to begin with.
Okay. Ratcatcher, we already touched on the state of mind things. Toby is an adult. He can handle these things better. Tom is a teenager. An emotional teenager.
Whose mother we figure died like 3 hours, or 4 hours prior to fighting the man that killed her.
Ratcatcher. If you don't have anything if you have something that we haven't already gone over, that we haven't already debunked, provide it. If you can't, at this point, just shut up, because you're just embarrassing yourself at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. This is a good thing. Tom's Spidey sense is much more advanced that it can sense the personality change. So why would he act like Norman? Why would he act like Norman to trick him if he can predict it?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like,
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Ratcatcher was secretly Ambu.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I think
chat, don't argue with these guys. What do you mean? We've already debunked everything. It's your fault for not being here earlier. I literally made a video on it. I said it like 2 days ago. He
basically just said you guys haven't debunked any.
Well, oh my god, dude! It's like arguing with a brick wall. It's the same thing with all.
No, I shit you not. This is just red hair Tony in disguise. I'm calling it right. I'm calling it right.
I will Venmo you $14,000 if this is actually him.
Yo, Ratcatcher, are you red hair Tony on Discord?
Be honest.
Be honest.
He said Yambu. It's him.
Are you wait, are you Ambu on Discord and red hair Tony on TikTok? Please confirm.
I like how Tech is genuinely kind of nervous. He's like, is it?
Please. No. Because if it is, I'm going to go off. Please.
Just say yes. Alright, Tech, go off. Everyone on mute.
Oh, the
Tekka, watch it. Don't say anything you'll regret. All right, I understand, but don't say anything you regret.
I'm not gonna go racist. Okay, don't worry.
This guy just said Tekka hop into the D+.
This is the same guy. No, this
I'm gonna
is
go to
the
the restroom.
guy
I'll be back.
who lost to me 6 times and tried to prove Kratos was the strongest in fiction against Comp Godzilla, Akuto Sai, Azidaka, as in one scenario.
Not gonna lie, Ozzy's kind of fodder. I mean, Goku kind of solos.
Fuck you. But this is the thing he does every time. If you debunk him in any way, he still tries to say, "Oh, you didn't debunk anything." He's ignorant. He calls the judges he brings into judges' debates biased because they give the other person the win.
There was a debate a little while back, and it was their final debate. Yeah, Tekka, this isn't him, but y'all had a debate a while back. I remember, and he chose to have the group VC, the group judge on the winner. And I remember he called us all biased.
Yeah, because every single person said that I won.
But yeah, this isn't him.
I don't care. I got to get that out. Oh, thank fuck. I had an excuse to spew that. Thank fuck.
Kratos is the strongest in fiction. Cosmic Armor Superman. Cosmic Armor Superman is not the strongest in fiction. Goku is. Sorry, buddy.
Oh no, this is definitely Red Hair Tony. I'm sorry. This guy's matching his personality.
Is Red Hair Tony good looking? I mean,
this man is matching his personality way too much. I'm sorry, but all right. So I think we've officially gone over everything. I think
we've gone over every legitimate argument. We've debunked everything.
We have. And you know what this funny thing is? You know what the really funny thing is? Even after all this, we're still gonna have people who disagree.
Well, you can direct them to this video.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it. So thank you all. Thank you, Kruos. Thank you, Tekka. Thank you,
You're
Comic,
welcome.
for joining. I really appreciate it. You guys did fantastic. Thank you all so much.
Anytime.
This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much.
You show me. I want to kiss you.
And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Thank you all for joining. This argument's never gonna end, even though we've debunked everything. All right. I will see you all later. You will have a great day. Bye.